Hello and welcome to another video. This is the third episode of the story in which Naruto fails an exam for the second time, is duped by and then defeated Mizuki, and is given the opportunity to graduate early but does not take it. Now, with the determination to become strong enough to protect those he cares about, he will reach new heights. Please like and subscribe to show your support. Let's get the show started. Tension hung heavy in the room as Naruto stood before Kakashi, frustration etched across his features. He was enraged, almost trembling with it, as Kakashi sat calmly on his futon, still recovering from the last battle with Zabuza. The quiet, cold fury in Naruto's voice cut through the air. "That's your plan?" he snapped, incredulous and angry. "You expect us to just sit here and wait for our enemy to come to us? Are you an idiot?" Kakashi, always patient, sighed heavily. "Naruto, I understand that you're worried, but this is the only thing we can do right now." His voice was firm but exhausted, clearly hoping to defuse the boy's anger. Naruto wasn't having it. "Yeah, right. You're just being lazy. Or is it that you just want another chance to fight Zabuza yourself?" Another long sigh escaped from Kakashi. He looked at Naruto with a more serious expression now, his voice hardening. "I get that the Hokage lets you get away with a lot, but you need to remember something: I am your superior. You will follow my orders." Naruto's eyes, cold and unyielding, met Kakashi's. There was a chilling edge to his voice now. "Look into my eyes, Hatake," he said icily. "Look into my eyes and tell me how much I care about that." The room fell into an uncomfortable silence, tension rising like a storm about to break. The two locked gazes, neither backing down. The oppressive weight of the moment seemed to press in on Sakura, whose voice, small and hesitant, cut through the stillness. "You Sensei?" Sakura's hands trembled slightly, resting in her lap, as she looked between the two. Naruto caught the nervousness in her posture and softened his glare just a fraction. "If you couldn't beat Zabuza on your own," she continued, "what makes you think that we can?" Kakashi finally broke the stare with Naruto, his gaze shifting to Sakura. "Ma, you're forgetting that you all helped me defeat Zabuza last time." His voice was calm, almost too calm, like a parent soothing a worried child. But Naruto wasn't ready to let the moment slide. His voice dripped with sarcasm. "Yeah, she helped a lot." Sakura's head lowered, eyes focusing on her lap. Naruto's comment stung, not because of its sharpness, but because it echoed her own fears. Her fists tightened, nails digging into her palms as she fought back the growing self-doubt gnawing at her. "Am I really that useless?" she thought, biting her lip to stop the tears. "Sasuke-kun is so strong, and I always thought I was better than Naruto, but now..." Her thoughts spiraled. "Is Naruto even stronger than Sasuke?" "As I was saying," Kakashi continued, a little more firmly this time, "you won't be fighting Zabuza directly. Your opponent will be his helper. But for that, we need to train." "Oh, that's rich." Naruto interrupted, bitterness lacing his words. "We had to be attacked by an A-rank missing nin for you to finally decide to train us. Instead of abandoning me and Sakura to train Sasuke, maybe you could have taught us something useful." "What's next, Kakashi? An S-rank criminal? An invasion on the village? Or maybe we'll just wait for a war to break out before you take us seriously?" His voice dripped with mock excitement, but it quickly turned cold. "I don't need you or your training, you pathetic lazy bastard." The words landed like sharp daggers. "You've got 3 students, not 1. If you can't see that, then I don't have time for you." Naruto stood abruptly, his back turned to the room as he headed for the door. Sasuke's voice cut through the silence. "Where are you going, Dobe?" Without turning, Naruto responded flatly, "I refuse to be a freeloader. I'm going to hunt something for dinner." Tsunami, the bridge builder's daughter, quickly spoke up, "Why, you don't have to, we have enough food." Naruto held up a hand, gently cutting her off. "We're going to be staying here for a while. The least I can do is contribute something, bring back some meat, maybe cook once in a while. Let me do that to repay your kindness, Tsunami-san." He smiled warmly, the anger slipping away in that brief moment of sincerity. Tsunami returned the smile. "Alright, but when you're cooking, I'll help. Is that okay?" Naruto gave a mock salute. "Yes, ma'am," he said with a grin, earning a small giggle from her. Sasuke, still processing the sudden shift in Naruto's behavior, asked with genuine surprise, "You can cook, Dobe?" Naruto's smile faded as he glanced over his shoulder, his voice suddenly quiet, almost tired. "When you're alone for long enough, you pick up a few things to survive. Not that you'd know, Uchiha, everything's always been handed to you on a silver platter." His hand reached for the door, and just before stepping out, he turned his head slightly, addressing Kakashi again, this time with a coldness that froze everyone in place. "Oh, and one more thing, Hatake," Naruto said, the name spat out with distaste. His hair cast a shadow over his eyes, but the one visible eye locked onto Kakashi with a look that sent shivers down the Jonin's spine. It was a gaze filled with silent fury, but also calm, calculating precision. It was a look Kakashi had only seen once before. "Minato-sensei?" Kakashi thought, feeling the sudden weight of that familiar presence behind Naruto's eyes. "If you ever stand in my way of protecting my precious people," Naruto said, his voice eerily calm, "I will squash you like a bug." With that, he left, the door closing softly behind him. Silence filled the room, heavy and thick, the lingering tension wrapping around them like a cold blanket. For the first time, Kakashi found himself at a loss for words, still shaken by the unsettling resemblance to his former teacher. Sakura and Sasuke remained silent too, both grappling with the realization that Naruto, the loud, often brash boy they thought they knew, was far more complex than they ever imagined. Sasuke, his mind reeling, clenched his fists. "How did you get so far ahead, Naruto?" He thought back to the academy, where Naruto was the class clown, the dead last. But now, there was no denying it. Naruto had grown, and with each passing day, the gap between them was widening. Sakura, still staring at the door, tightened her fists even more. "He's right," she thought bitterly. "I am useless." And Kakashi, he couldn't shake the image that had flashed in his mind, the ghost of his mentor. "Minato, what would you say if you could see your son now?" But for now, there were no answers. Only the quiet hum of doubt and the lingering question of just how much more Naruto was hiding beneath that loud, reckless surface. 3 days had passed since the intense training had begun, and Sakura trudged back toward Tazuna's house, her legs aching from the tree-walking exercise. She glanced toward Sasuke, who seemed as fresh as ever, still practicing without showing any signs of fatigue. How can Sasuke-kun have so much energy? She wondered, feeling a pang of exhaustion wash over her. Despite mastering the exercise on her first day, Sakura found herself continuing the training, pushing her limits, perhaps out of a desire to feel useful, especially after Naruto's cold remark when he'd visited them that first day. He had taken one look at their efforts, scoffed, and said only one word, pathetic. The word had stung deeply, echoing in her mind ever since. Am I really that pathetic? She thought bitterly. Yet, despite the hurt, there was something else that had kept her going. Naruto's dedication to protect Tazuna while she and Sasuke trained weighed heavily on her mind. It wasn't the same Naruto she'd known back at the academy, the one she'd always dismissed. He was different now, and her thoughts often wandered to him in these past few days. Who knew Naruto could cook so well, she mused, her stomach grumbling at the thought of his meals. Today, I get to taste it again. The idea of a delicious dinner motivated her to quicken her pace, pushing through the burning sensation in her legs. As she neared Tazuna's house, she was about to walk past the kitchen window when she heard Tsunami's voice, saying something that made her freeze in her tracks. And Sakura-san? Why are you cold to her, Naruto-kun? Sakura immediately ducked down, her heart pounding. Why is he cold to me? The question echoed in her head as she crouched below the window, her curiosity piqued, her breath shallow as she eavesdropped on their conversation. Inside, Tsunami admired the crystal necklace Naruto wore, the Uzumaki clan crest glittering under the light. It's a beautiful necklace, she said, her voice full of genuine admiration. It looks just like the symbol on your back. Is it important to you, Naruto-kun? Naruto smiled softly, his hand brushing over the crystal. Yeah, it's the royal Uzumaki clan crest. My clan's crest. Our royal? Tsunami asked, her eyes widening in surprise. Naruto mentally kicked himself for slipping up but nodded. Why yeah. I'm technically the daimyo of Yuzu no Kuni. My mom was the last member of the royal line, from what I could find out through some underground sources. Tsunami blinked in shock, processing the information. So, should I start calling you Naruto-sama then? She teased, a playful glint in her eye. No. Kami, no. Naruto waved his hands, flustered. Naruto-kun is just fine, thank you. And please, don't tell anyone about this. I don't want anyone to know. Tsunami chuckled, placing a hand over her heart. Of course, your secret is safe with me. Daimyo-sama. She laughed when Naruto grumbled, causing both of them to share a light-hearted moment. Sakura, crouched under the window, found herself shocked. Naruto is a daimyo? She thought, her mind racing. How come no one knew about this? As the kitchen grew quiet, Tsunami's voice broke the stillness, her tone curious. Naruto-kun, I was meaning to ask, why are you so cold to Kakashi-san and Sakura-san? Isn't Kakashi-san your sensei? Naruto's face darkened slightly, the easygoing atmosphere shifting as a flicker of resentment crossed his eyes. He was never really my sensei, Naruto said, his voice growing harder. He's always played favorites with Sasuke, leaving me and Sakura-chan behind. He's made her weaker than she was before the academy, and this plan of his, it's just making us sitting ducks. He's too prideful to ask for help, too lazy to actually train us all properly. Tsunami's expression softened in understanding, though she was taken aback by the bitterness in his words. Oh, I see. She said quietly. And what about Sakura-san? Why are you so cold to her? Naruto hesitated, his eyes drifting down to the vegetables he was chopping. Sakura-chan is different. Outside, hidden just beneath the window, Sakura felt her breath catch in her throat. Different? She thought, her heart pounding as she leaned in closer. What do you mean? Tsunami asked, her curiosity evident. Naruto sighed softly, his voice quiet but laced with frustration. She's frustrating. She has so much raw talent, and it's painful to watch her throw it all away chasing after someone who doesn't care about her. People would kill to have chakra control like hers. I had to work for months just to get half as good as she was before learning tree walking. But she wastes it. His voice dropped, tinged with self-deprecation. Maybe it bothers me so much because I don't have any natural talent for ninja arts. Everything I have, I had to earn through hard work. Sakura's heart clenched. He thinks I'm wasting my talent? Tsunami tilted her head, intrigued. What do you mean you have no talent? From what my father says, you're an incredible ninja, Naruto-kun. Naruto let out a short laugh. I train harder than anyone. I've broken bones, torn muscles, pushed myself to the edge just to get a little stronger. Nothing comes easy for me, except maybe Fuinjutsu, but even then, I'm not that great compared to Uzumaki standards. All I've ever had is my hard work. And why do you push yourself so hard? Tsunami asked gently. Naruto's voice softened, filled with quiet determination. To protect my precious people. The conviction in his voice struck both Tsunami and Sakura. To protect his precious people. Sakura repeated the words in her mind, feeling a strange warmth bloom in her chest. Naruto continued, his voice laced with sadness. That's why Sakura-chan is so frustrating. She's precious to me, but I know I'm not strong enough to protect her from everything this world will throw at her. She has the potential to be as strong as Tsunade Senju, maybe even stronger, but she needs to take her training seriously. She could be amazing, but only if she wants it. Outside, Sakura felt tears welling up in her eyes. He's doing this, for me? She hugged her knees to her chest, biting her lip to keep from crying. All this time, she thought Naruto was being cruel. But he was trying to push her to be stronger. Tsunami, touched by Naruto's honesty, asked, then why didn't you just tell her that? Why not ask her to train more? I tried, Naruto said, his tone weary. I tried for a whole year, but she wouldn't listen. So, I decided to become cold, to tell her the truth about how weak she is compared to the other kunoichi out there. I figured, maybe if I pushed her hard enough, she'd want to prove me wrong. Either she'll train to be stronger than me, or she'll hate you and train just to surpass you, Tsunami finished for him. But are you ready for that? I thought you liked her. Naruto paused, a sad smile crossing his face. Yeah, I do like her. But if I have to choose between her being safe and her maybe liking me someday, it's an easy choice. I'll take her hatred if it means she'll survive. As long as she's safe, I can live with her hating me. Tsunami chuckled softly. You know, if you were 5 years older, I'd be tempted to go after you myself. Naruto grinned, his usual mischievousness returning. Too bad I'm not older then. A real bummer, Tsunami laughed, and the two returned to cooking in a companionable silence. Outside, Sakura's heart was a whirlwind of emotions. Everything Naruto had said, the sacrifices he was willing to make, the way he was pushing her to be stronger, it had all been for her. I've been so cruel to him, she thought, tears welling in her eyes. He's done so much for me, and I never even noticed. Sakura, get it together, she scolded herself. Don't cry here, or they'll know you were eavesdropping. She wiped her eyes quickly, steeling herself. Quietly, she stood and slipped away from the window, heading back toward the training grounds. But as she walked, her mind was filled with one thought. Naruto, he's been protecting me this whole time. How could I have been so blind? And with that, a new determination stirred within her. If Naruto believed she had the potential to be great, then maybe it was time she started believing it too. The day had been peaceful enough until Sakura and Tsunami found themselves confronted by a group of over 30 thugs, their leader, Waranji, sneering at them with a sickening grin. He emerged from the woods with his men, clearly confident in their strength, and Sakura's heart immediately raced with fear. But she forced herself to stand her ground, gripping her kunai tightly as she stepped protectively in front of Tsunami. Who are you? Sakura demanded, trying to keep the tremor from her voice as she readied herself for a fight. Waranji grinned even wider, his eyes lecherous as he looked between the two women. Oi, Waranji, one of his thugs said, eyeing Sakura with an unsettling smile. Gato didn't say anything about this brat, but maybe we take her for a test ride, huh? I don't see why not, Waranji replied, laughing. But I got dibs. I always like popping the cherry of a new one. His words dripped with vile intent, causing Sakura's blood to run cold. This is what Naruto was talking about, Sakura thought in panic, her hands trembling around her kunai. They want to. Her mind screamed at her to run, but she gritted her teeth, steeling her nerves. No, I can't lose. Naruto was right, I'm too weak. But I have to win this fight. Let's kick their asses, her inner voice urged, giving her the boost she needed. Summoning her resolve, Sakura sprinted toward Waranji, throwing her kunai with precision. He easily deflected it with his katana, but she had anticipated that. Bunshin no Jutsu. She thought, summoning 2 clones as she channeled chakra to her legs for more speed. The man cut down her clones, leaving him wide open for her punch. With all her strength, Sakura landed a solid hit to Waranji's jaw, sending him crashing back into the group of thugs. "You bitch," one of the thugs yelled, charging at her with 4 others. But Sakura was ready. She punched one in the stomach, kicked another between the legs, and threw him over her shoulder into the 3rd thug. A battle axe swung at her next, and she barely dodged in time, retaliating with a swift kick to the attacker's face. As she spun around to face the next enemy, a sharp pain tore through her shoulder. Waranji had slashed her with his katana. Her scream echoed in the forest, and before she could recover, another thug punched her in the stomach, followed by a brutal kick to her ribs that sent her crashing into the dirt near Tsunami. "You little whore!" Waranji snarled, walking toward her with murderous intent. "I was going to be somewhat gentle, but now I'll make you suffer." Sakura, gasping for breath, fought to stay conscious. Naruto was right. "I'm too weak." She closed her eyes tightly, praying for someone to save her. "Please, someone help me. Sasuke-kun." Then, suddenly, a voice full of fury cut through the chaos. "Who the fuck are you?" Waranji yelled, his anger briefly directed away from Sakura. When she opened her eyes, she saw Naruto, his hand gripping Waranji's outstretched arm, his head bowed so that his eyes were shadowed by his hair. Waranji's face twisted with confusion, then amusement. "Oh, I get it. You want a turn with the pinky. Too bad I called dibs, but you can take her from behind, argh." Waranji's sick grin turned into a scream as Naruto tightened his grip, crushing the man's arm with terrifying ease. Naruto raised his head, his eyes burning with pure, boiling rage. Sakura's breath hitched at the sight. The intensity of his anger was enough to freeze the blood in her veins. Without a word, Naruto yanked Waranji toward him and stomped on the man's calf, shattering the bone. His other hand clamped around Waranji's neck, holding him in a death grip. Then, with one brutal motion, Naruto twisted his arm, and a sickening crack echoed through the clearing as Waranji's neck snapped. Silence fell as Naruto released the body, letting it crumple to the ground like a broken doll. "You know," Naruto began, his voice calm and deadly as he raised his right hand, "I have a set of rules I live by. One of them is to always protect your precious people." His hand moved slowly into position, horizontal and ready for action. "And the other? There's only one punishment for someone who tries to commit rape." Poof! In a flash of smoke, Naruto summoned his sword, Inraiha, channeling his chakra into it until it burst into flames. Without another word, he stabbed the blade into Waranji's corpse, incinerating it in seconds. "Death," Naruto finished, his voice cold and final. And then he was gone, disappearing in a burst of speed. Sakura could barely track his movements as Naruto reappeared in front of the remaining thugs, swinging Inraiha in a deadly arc that cut down 6 men instantly. Their bodies burst into flames, their ashes scattering in the wind. Naruto leapt into the center of the group, spinning in a fiery dance of death as he slashed through another 10 men, using their burning remains as cover. His movements were precise and merciless, each strike calculated to kill. One thug, wielding a massive battle axe, swung at Naruto, but the blonde sidestepped easily, shattering the man's knee with a brutal kick. The thug collapsed, screaming, but Naruto silenced him with a swift stab through the mouth. Grabbing the man's axe, Naruto swung it behind him, shattering the weapons of 3 more thugs who had tried to ambush him. He decapitated them in one smooth motion, and then sent a spear, loaded with an explosive tag, flying toward the few remaining thugs attempting to flee. The explosion rocked the clearing, and in an instant, they were gone, nothing but ash. Naruto stood amid the destruction, panting lightly as the fires around him began to spread. He quickly used his wind chakra to put out the flames, his face unreadable as he sealed Raiha back into the scroll. Then he saw Sakura. In a flash, Naruto was by her side, moving so fast that the gust of wind blew her hair back. "Are you okay?" "No, of course you're not okay, you're wounded." "Hold on, I'll heal you," he said, his voice full of worry as he pulled out a scroll and unsealed a pair of white gloves with a red cross and the Uzumaki clan crest. Sakura's heart twisted at his concern, but when Naruto spoke again, his words were sharp. "That's why I said you're useless," he muttered, trying to sound angry but failing miserably. His voice was thick with fear and worry as he began healing her. Being too weak to beat a few thugs, what kind of kunoichi does that? Sakura, feeling the gentle warmth of his healing chakra, smiled softly despite the sting of his words. "I'll be fine, Naruto. In our team, only I can be irresponsible," Naruto shot back, his voice tight with frustration. "Now shut up, I need to concentrate." Sakura wanted to laugh at his response, but the pain in her ribs made it difficult. "I didn't know you could heal," she said quietly, watching as the wound on her shoulder began to close. Naruto shook his head. "I can't. My chakra's too potent for medical ninjutsu. These gloves convert my chakra into medical chakra, so I just have to use them wisely. But since I studied anatomy while learning Senbon, it's not too hard." He finished healing her shoulder and moved to her ribs. When his hands brushed the sensitive area near her chest, Sakura's first instinct was to slap him, but she stopped herself, realizing how focused he was on healing her. Once he was done, Naruto removed the gloves, sealing them away again. He turned to leave, but Sakura stopped him with a soft, "Thank you, Naruto." Naruto tilted his head, confused. "For what?" "For saving us, for healing me, for everything." She hesitated, her heart pounding in her chest. "For caring about me," she added silently. Naruto waved off her thanks, his usual grin returning. "I just did what I thought was right. Nothing to thank me for." Sakura smiled at his humility, her mind drifting back to the conversation she'd overheard between him and Kenta. He really does care. Before she could say anything more, Naruto's face turned serious, his eyes snapping toward the tree line. "You can come out now, fake hunter Nin," he called out. Sakura's breath hitched as the masked figure she had seen with Zabuza stepped out from behind the trees. "I didn't come here to fight," the masked figure said evenly. "I was just passing by." Naruto smirked. "I know. If you wanted to fight, I'd have already beaten you." The masked figure chuckled softly. "Confident, aren't you? Well, I should be going now." "Goodbye, wait." Naruto interrupted, his voice calm but firm. "I have one question. Why are you and Zabuza working for Gato?" The fake hunter Nin paused, then spoke plainly. Zabuza-sama needs money to support the rebel faction in Mizu no Kuni, the fake hunter Nin explained, their voice steady, as if this was simply a matter of fact. "I, as his tool, follow his orders." Naruto narrowed his eyes at the word tool. "Tool, huh? I don't think Zabuza sees you that way," Naruto said, his voice filled with a mix of curiosity and something else, empathy, maybe. "Tools are meant to be used in battle, right? But he didn't want you to fight in our last encounter, did he? He even lets you hide behind that mask. From where I'm standing, it looks like he cares about you as a person, not just a tool." The masked ninja stood still for a moment, as if considering Naruto's words. They gave nothing away, but the slight stiffening of their posture was enough for Naruto to know he had struck a chord. Naruto sighed, his voice dropping. "He's trying to save his country, but he's willing to sacrifice this one to do it. That's pretty selfish, don't you think?" There was no accusation in his tone, just a quiet sadness. But I guess that's the way the world works. The fake hunter-nin didn't reply, but Naruto caught the subtle shift in their stance, the way their fingers twitched ever so slightly, hesitation, maybe, or regret. It was hard to tell. Oh well, Naruto said with a shrug, a bit of his usual energy returning to his voice. It's not like I'm going to let him succeed anyway. See you around, fake hunter-nin. He offered a small smile, one that was genuine but tinged with the weight of the conversation. The masked figure tilted their head slightly, as if studying Naruto for a moment longer, then nodded before disappearing back into the forest. The leaves rustled briefly, and then everything was still again. Naruto stood there for a moment, lost in thought before he suddenly snapped his fingers and called out, Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. In an instant, 20 shadow clones appeared around him. They nodded to each other and leapt into the trees, moving swiftly in different directions. Sakura, watching silently from her spot beside Tsunami, couldn't help but wonder what he was planning. What are they doing? She asked quietly. I sent them on a little errand, Naruto replied with a nonchalant grin, as if he hadn't just wiped out a group of thugs and then casually engaged in a philosophical debate with an enemy ninja. Anyway, let's head back. I could use a nap, Dadabayo. Tsunami and Sakura, still processing everything that had just happened, exchanged glances before nodding. They began walking back to Tazuna's house, though Sakura found herself falling into step next to Naruto. For a moment, there was a comfortable silence between them. The air was heavy with the scent of the forest and the lingering tension from the battle, but it was calm now. As they walked, Sakura felt a strange sense of gratitude wash over her. Naruto had always been so loud, so brash, but today she had seen a side of him she hadn't truly understood before, his strength, his resolve, his unyielding will to protect. And for the first time in a long time, she saw Naruto not as the class clown or the dead last, but as someone who had always been watching over her, even when she hadn't noticed. Naruto, Sakura said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. Naruto looked at her, blinking in surprise. She hesitated for a moment, then smiled. I just wanted to say, thank you. For everything. Naruto looked at her, confused at first, then smiled sheepishly, scratching the back of his head. I already told you, Sakura-chan, there's no need to thank me. I just did what I thought was right. But Sakura's smile didn't waver this time. Even so, she insisted, her voice steady, thank you. Naruto's smile grew a little softer at that, and for a moment, they walked in silence again. But something had changed between them. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but it was there. A newfound understanding, a silent acknowledgement of everything they had gone through together. As they continued down the road, Tsunami walking ahead of them, Naruto looked up at the sky and stretched, his usual energy starting to return. I wonder if Kakashi-sensei is awake yet, he mused aloud. He's probably just reading his book while we do all the hard work. Sakura chuckled softly. You're probably right. Naruto grinned at her, and for the first time in a long while, Sakura found herself genuinely smiling back. They had a long road ahead of them, but for now, it felt like things were starting to fall into place. And as they headed back to Tazuna's house, the sun beginning to dip lower in the sky, it felt like the start of something new, something stronger. In the quiet aftermath of a tense day at Tazuna's house, Sakura returns with Tsunami, feeling a bit overlooked by Kakashi. The veteran shinobi, buried in his ever-present book, forgets her earlier words, leaving the pink-haired kunoichi feeling as if she barely registered in his memory. Her sense of insignificance deepens when Sasuke, her longtime crush, directs his attention to Naruto instead. The exchange between the two boys is sharp and taunting, with Naruto throwing playful jabs about Sasuke's supposed lack of interest in girls. But there's an underlying tension beneath the banter, one that speaks to the complicated dynamic between them, rivals, yet perhaps something more complicated. Naruto, though usually the center of attention in any room, reveals a sharper edge. He talks back to Kakashi with a rare intensity, making it clear that if his precious people, Sakura, Tsunami, and even Sasuke, were ever in danger because of their mentor's decisions, he wouldn't hesitate to stand against him. It's a surprising moment, showing a depth of care that isn't always obvious beneath Naruto's boisterous surface. His words are more than threats, they are promises, the kind Naruto is known to keep at all costs. He leaves the room, his frustration simmering, as Sakura hastily excuses herself, sensing the tension rising. Later that night, as the house sleeps, Sakura sits alone on the rooftop, her thoughts swirling with doubt. Watching the stars, she feels her insecurities tighten around her heart. The day's failure gnaws at her, her inability to fend off a group of bandits, her growing sense of uselessness within the team. She wonders if maybe she's not cut out for this life, that perhaps quitting would be easier than constantly facing her own shortcomings. But Naruto, as if sensing her despair, joins her under the stars. He speaks softly, almost casually, about the constellations and the ancient beliefs surrounding them. His words carry a certain weight, a mix of wonder and humor that contrasts with Sakura's darker thoughts. Then, almost without thinking, he compliments her, telling her how beautiful she looks beneath the starlight. It's a simple remark, but it catches Sakura off guard, making her blush in surprise. The boy who once seemed like nothing more than an annoyance suddenly feels different, kinder, gentler, more thoughtful than she had given him credit for. As they sit in silence, Naruto notices Sakura shivering and, without hesitation, drapes his hoodie over her shoulders. It's a small gesture, but one that speaks volumes. He reminds her that survival is what truly matters in battle, even if things didn't go as planned. Yet, when she confides in him, admitting her wish that Sasuke had come to save her, her desire to be stronger and no longer rely on others, Naruto's response is immediate and genuine. He agrees to help her train, promising to teach her what he can, even though he knows his own skills might not be enough. His sincerity shines through, and in that moment, Sakura sees him in a new light, no longer just the loud, brash teammate she had taken for granted. Their conversation ends on a hopeful note, Sakura feeling a renewed sense of purpose as Naruto prepares to slip away on a mission of his own. Before he leaves, a clone informs him of the next task ahead. Gato, the cruel tyrant behind their recent troubles, must be dealt with. Naruto's demeanor shifts as he sets his plan in motion. With his clones in position, he prepares to infiltrate Gato's mansion, knowing that innocent lives, women held captive within, depend on his success. As the night grows darker, Naruto springs into action, executing his strategy with precision. In a flash of lightning and seals, he eliminates the thugs guarding the mansion, clearing the way for his final confrontation with Gato. Back at the house, Sakura returns to her room, still wearing Naruto's hoodie. The warmth and scent of it linger on her, and for the first time, she begins to see Naruto as more than just the class clown. As she drifts to sleep, she whispers a quiet hope for his safety. Meanwhile, Naruto continues his mission, determined to end the tyranny of Gato and ensure the safety of the innocent women still trapped in the darkness. Inside the dimly lit mansion, the night was still except for the soft patter of footsteps and the distant murmurs of terrified thugs, unaware of the danger creeping toward them. One thug was mid-conversation when, suddenly, his partner fell silent, collapsing with a kunai embedded in his neck. Panic swelled in the other man's chest, but before he could shout or react, a second kunai found its target, his right eye. He dropped lifeless to the floor. Naruto emerged from the shadows, his face stoic as he surveyed the bodies. Such a waste of life, he muttered, then quickly formed the familiar hand signs. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. 60 clones materialized around him. You take care of the rest of the mansion. I'll handle the top floor. With that, Naruto disappeared, using Shunshin no Jutsu to reappear at the top of the stairs in an instant. Sending out 4 more clones to scout, he quickly learned the layout, guest bedrooms, mostly unused, with one larger, heavily guarded room in the center. Moving with deadly silence, Naruto approached the two guards stationed outside the main bedroom. Without hesitation, he raised two fingers, softly whispering, "Raiton, Byakurai." A pale beam of lightning pierced through both men's heads, ending their lives instantly. Clones quickly caught their falling bodies, ensuring no noise would alert those inside. Naruto slipped into the room, his gaze immediately locking onto a horrific sight: a small, terrified girl, no older than 10, strapped to a bed, while a grotesque man, Gato, loomed over her. Rage flared within Naruto, but he didn't waste time. With one swift movement, he kicked Gato in the ribs, sending the midget flying into a nearby nightstand. A clone instantly appeared to free the girl, tucking her in a sheet and escorting her safely out of the room. Gato, coughing and groaning from the impact, scrambled to his feet. "Who the hell do you think you are, boy?" he spat, trying to regain his composure despite the clear fear in his eyes. Naruto's icy gaze met Gato's. "The last person you're ever going to see," he replied flatly, his voice carrying the weight of certainty. Gato's sneer faltered as he glanced around the room, noticing the absence of his usual guards. What do you want?" he stammered, his bravado crumbling. Naruto stepped closer. "Your death, Gato." Desperation flashed across Gato's face. Wait. "I can give you anything: women, money, power. Whatever you want, just don't kill me." He was groveling now, scrambling for anything to save his pathetic life. Naruto's expression didn't change. "Everything, huh?" he said, tossing a set of papers at the trembling man. "Here. This is a contract, similar to the one you tried to force Tazuna to sign. Everything you own, money, land, assets, will belong to me. Sign it, and I won't harm you, physically." Gato hesitated, his eyes darting to the contract and back to Naruto, but the look in the boy's eyes left no room for negotiation. Reluctantly, he scribbled his signature on the paper, sealing his fate. "Now, your account numbers and passwords," Naruto demanded. Gato balked, refusing for a moment, but Naruto's patience was short. A flicker of golden fire lit up Naruto's hand as he summoned in Raiha, his newly acquired blade. "I promised not to harm you, but if you try to cheat me out of what's mine, I might change my mind." The sight of the fiery blade broke Gato's resistance. "Oh, of course. Everything is in a black notebook, in the vault. I'll show you." With Gato leading the way, they descended into the bowels of the mansion, passing mutilated bodies and pools of blood that lined the halls, a testament to the efficiency of Naruto's clones. The deeper they went, the more terrified Gato became, his steps growing shakier with each bloody corpse they passed. When they finally reached the vault, Naruto's eyes widened in surprise at the sight before him: mountains of gold, stacks of money, weapons, and even ancient scrolls, some of which seemed to belong to prominent clans like the Hyuga. He wasted no time, creating more clones to sort and seal the wealth into storage scrolls. As he approached a desk, Naruto's attention was drawn to a black notebook and a mysterious case. A strange pull tugged at him, his instincts alerting him to something powerful within the case. "What's inside?" he asked, his eyes narrowing. Gato, still quivering, answered, "A sword, but no one has been able to draw it." Ignoring the man's ramblings, Naruto opened the case. Inside was a katana, unlike any he'd ever seen. The handle was crafted to resemble a golden dragon, its head poised as though ready to bite the dark, intricately designed sheath. The blade itself felt heavy with untold power. Naruto's curiosity got the better of him. He placed his hand on the hilt and began to draw the blade. Suddenly, light erupted from the sword, and the world around Naruto shifted. When the light faded, Naruto found himself in a strange room, its walls seemingly made of pure light. A soft, melodic voice called out to him. "Welcome, Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto turned to face a beautiful woman, her long golden hair flowing gracefully around her. She wore a regal gold yukata with a black obi belt. Her presence was ethereal, as if she wasn't fully of this world. "If you're wondering, I am the spirit of the katana you just drew," she explained, her voice gentle yet commanding. Naruto blinked in surprise. "So, you're one of those sentient swords I've read about?" "Not quite. I am a conscious entity that guards the power within the blade. I have no true form outside of this sword," she clarified. "But you, Uzumaki Naruto, have a choice. You can return to your life now, or you can take the test to wield me. However, if you fail, you will forfeit your life." Naruto swallowed, feeling the gravity of the decision weigh on him. He wasn't one to back down from a challenge, though. "I'll take the test. If you're powerful enough to help me protect my precious people, I'll do whatever it takes." The woman smiled softly. "Very well. Let the test begin." Naruto found himself transported again, this time to a familiar training ground. Before him stood, himself. Or at least, a darker version of himself, with red, malevolent eyes and a cold sneer. "Who are you?" Naruto asked, unsettled. "I'm you. The real you, the one who embraces the hatred in your heart. The one who wants revenge for all the pain and suffering we've endured." Naruto clenched his fists. "I won't let you control me." The two Narutos clashed, matching blow for blow. Each punch, each jutsu mirrored the other, neither gaining the upper hand. They fought fiercely, neither willing to give in, until both were knocked back, skidding across the ground. "You can't beat me," the red-eyed Naruto snarled. "I know everything you do. And you're a fool, fighting to protect people who will just use you and toss you aside." Naruto froze for a moment, the words stinging more than he wanted to admit. "But..." Then, his eyes softened, and a small smile formed on his face. "I understand now," he said, standing back up. The darker version of Naruto smirked, thinking he had won, until the real Naruto stepped forward and embraced him. "You're not my enemy," Naruto said softly. "You're part of me. You're afraid of being betrayed, afraid of letting people get close enough to hurt us. But I won't let that fear control me. I'm going to protect my precious people, no matter what." The red-eyed Naruto struggled for a moment, but then his expression softened, tears forming in his eyes. "Bibaka," he muttered, returning the embrace. "I hope you're right. I hope they don't betray us." "They won't," Naruto whispered. "And if they do, we'll face it together." With a snap of fingers, the world of light returned, and the woman stood before Naruto once more, smiling. "Congratulations, Uzumaki Naruto. You passed the test, and in a way no one before you ever has. You didn't kill your hatred, you accepted it. And because of that, you will be able to wield my full power." Naruto bowed his head respectfully. "Thank you." Back in the vault, Naruto opened his eyes, holding the katana in his hand. The blade gleamed with a brilliant gold light, its craftsmanship far beyond anything he had ever seen. Before he could marvel at it further, one of his clones appeared beside him. "Oyabun-sama, everything is sealed," the clone reported. Naruto nodded. "Good. Now, what should we do with Gato?" The mention of Gato snapped Naruto back to the present. The man in question trembled before him, realizing his fate was sealed. "You said, you wouldn't kill me," Gato whimpered. "I said I wouldn't harm you physically," Naruto corrected coldly. "But after what you were about to do to that little girl, you didn't think I'd let you live, did you?" Naruto's eyes darkened as he unsealed Raiha once more, its golden flames licking the air as he raised the blade. "I'm going to destroy your soul." Gato screamed as Naruto swung the sword, the golden fire piercing through his heart. The flames consumed him, body and soul, reducing him to nothing but ash. His last moments were filled with agony, but Naruto's expression remained emotionless as the corrupt man vanished. With Gato dead and his wealth sealed, Naruto issued his final orders to his clones. Some would hunt down the remaining thugs, while others would escort the rescued women to safety. The rest would rebuild, creating something good out of the nightmare Gato had left behind. As the clones set off to carry out his orders, Naruto's thoughts turned to Zabuza. Tajukage Bunshin no Jutsu. Another 150 clones appeared, prepared for the next task. I'm going to visit a demon, Naruto muttered to himself, his eyes narrowing as he set off to face the next challenge. In the dim light of Zabuza's hideout, silence hung heavy. The air smelled of damp earth, with only the faint sound of breathing from the bedridden swordsman and his masked companion, Haku. Suddenly, Zabuza's rough voice cut through the stillness. You can come out now, I know you're there. From the shadows, Naruto stepped forward, calm and unfazed. I wasn't exactly hiding, Haku, he said with a casual smile. Haku's eyes narrowed, recognizing the boy from their previous encounters. You're one of Kakashi's brats. What are you doing here? Her voice held suspicion, her hands tensing slightly, though she remained at Zabuza's side. Zabuza, propped up on the bed, grunted. Yeah, what's the deal, kid? Naruto's expression didn't waver as he approached the pair. I came with a business proposition, he began, his tone light but filled with purpose. Gato offered you 2 million for this mission, right? Both Zabuza and Haku nodded warily, clearly not expecting the conversation to go this route. Well, Naruto continued with a mischievous grin, I'm willing to offer you 20 million to support the rebels in Mizu no Kuni. Zabuza's eyebrows raised slightly, more curious than surprised. 20 million, he echoed. You're really that scared for your client? Naruto shook his head, waving away the assumption with an amused chuckle. Not really, since Gato's dead. For a moment, silence filled the room. Zabuza's eyes flickered with shock, and Haku's stance shifted, disbelief written across her masked face. Wait, Zabuza muttered, his voice rougher than before. What do you mean, dead? Oh yeah, Naruto said, as if remembering something trivial. I kinda forgot to mention that. I killed him earlier tonight. Sorry about that. He scratched the back of his head awkwardly, flashing them an innocent grin. Zabuza and Haku exchanged a glance, their initial shock quickly shifting into exasperation. He's an idiot, they both thought in unison. Naruto, undeterred by their reactions, pressed on. Anyway, before he died, in a stroke of genius, Gato signed all his assets over to me. So now I own everything he had. That's why I'm here to make a deal. Zabuza leaned back slightly, his mouth curling into an amused smirk. Stroke of genius, huh? And what's in it for you, kid? What's the catch? Naruto's grin widened. Well, I've got 2 conditions. He raised one finger. First, when the rebellion wins, you'll sign a peace treaty and form an alliance with Konoha. Zabuza, surprisingly, didn't hesitate. That's fine. We'll need allies when this is over. What's the second condition? Naruto's tone turned serious as he spoke the next words, his eyes locking onto Zabuza's. You can't become Mizukage. At this, Haku's body tensed, her instincts preparing her to strike. But before she could move, Zabuza raised a hand, calming her. His sharp eyes studied Naruto, narrowing in suspicion. And why exactly can't I become Mizukage? His voice was low, a dangerous edge creeping into it. Naruto stood firm, meeting Zabuza's gaze without flinching. Do you even know what being a Kage means? Paperwork. Endless meetings about budgets, dealing with annoying council members, clans, and civilians, most of whom you can't kill, no matter how tempting it might be. He folded his arms, leaning in slightly. It's a job for someone with the patience of a saint, or a complete nut job. I don't think you're crazy enough for that. For a long moment, Zabuza stared at the boy, his expression unreadable. Haku, watching from the sidelines, remained on edge, unsure how her master would respond. Then, to Naruto's surprise, Zabuza's grim expression cracked into a smirk, followed by a low chuckle. "You've got guts, kid," the swordsman muttered. "Fine. Deal." Naruto's face lit up with a bright smile. "Great. I'll send a clone with the money tomorrow. But for now, I'm heading back to sleep. It's been a long night." With a casual wave, Naruto turned and leapt out of the nearest window, disappearing into the darkness with a final, "See ya around, Databayo." Once the room settled into silence again, Haku glanced at Zabuza, her brow furrowing in thought. "He's odd," she remarked, her voice cautious. Zabuza let out a deep sigh, finally sitting up in the bed. "Yeah," he muttered. "But he's not as foolish as he seems." His gaze became sharper, more calculating as he continued. "He took a huge risk coming here, especially without wearing his hidey 8. Haku's eyes widened slightly. "He wasn't acting as a Konoha shinobi?" "No," Zabuza confirmed. "By coming here without his headband, he kept Konoha out of the equation. If the rebellion fails, no one can tie this deal back to Konoha. Smart kid. But, if Yagura finds out about this deal, won't he demand Naruto's head?" Haku asked, a note of concern in her voice. Zabuza nodded grimly. "Yes. And that brat knows it too. He's aware of the danger, but he still made the offer, risking his life for a cause that isn't even his. That takes guts, and more than a little bit of madness." For a moment, both of them were silent, the gravity of Naruto's actions sinking in. Haku felt a new sense of respect growing for the boy who, only hours ago, had seemed nothing more than a loud-mouthed fool. He had faced them, not as an enemy or an ally, but as someone with a clear sense of purpose, offering them something greater than money, a path to victory. "He's definitely not what I expected," Haku finally said, her voice softening with admiration. Zabuza grunted in agreement. "Keep an eye on that one. He's going to be a problem someday, for someone. But for now, he's on our side." With that, the room fell quiet again, but in the back of their minds, the thought lingered: Naruto Uzumaki was far more than the simple prankster they had first thought him to be. And they would do well not to forget it. Top of form, bottom of form. After a long night filled with battles, deals, and near-death encounters, Naruto finally returned to Tazuna's house, exhaustion pulling him down like gravity. The prospect of sleep was the only thing keeping him moving as he stumbled to his bed. Finally, bed, me, sleep. He muttered to himself, ready to crash face first into the soft comfort of the mattress. But instead of hitting the bed, Naruto felt the cold, wet sensation of water engulfing him. He blinked in confusion as he found himself standing knee-deep in a dark, eerie sewer. "What the fuck? A sewer?" he muttered, disoriented, before realizing exactly where he was. "Arg, the sewer." With a heavy sigh, Naruto began walking, the distant echoes of dripping water his only company. "I hope I find something in here," he mumbled, his voice trailing off as he approached a gigantic set of iron gates. The bars were impossibly high, towering over him, held together by a single slip of paper inscribed with a kanji seal. Recognition flashed across Naruto's face. "Kyuubi," he whispered, understanding fully where he had landed. From behind the gates, two massive eyes snapped open, glowing with an intense, fiery red. The nine-tailed fox, Kyuubi, shifted its enormous form, chuckling darkly as its presence filled the space. "Good, flesh bag. You're at least not totally ignorant," the Biju rumbled, its deep voice reverberating through the chamber like thunder. "I brought you here to compliment you on today's slaughter. The way you incinerated those vermin, it was a thing of beauty." Naruto's expression hardened, his voice even as he responded, "I didn't kill them for enjoyment, or to be praised. Someone had to stop them, as well as Gato. But that doesn't mean I liked it or wanted to be complimented for it. Kyuubi's lips curled back into a toothy grin. Oh? You didn't want it? Are you telling me you didn't enjoy snapping the neck of that vermin who was about to touch your little vixen? The fox teased, its smile widening maliciously. Naruto flushed, his cheeks reddening, and he quickly shot back, Sakura-chan's not my vixen. Kyuubi chuckled, clearly amused by Naruto's defensiveness. When the laughter finally subsided, Naruto stood there for a moment, thinking. His eyes softened slightly as a new thought crossed his mind, one that caught the Biju off guard. What's your name? For a moment, silence fell between them. Kyuubi blinked, surprised by the question. What? I asked what your name is, Naruto repeated, his tone steady. The Ichibi has a name, Shikaku, so I figured all the Biju must have names. And since we're kinda stuck together as roommates, I'd like to know yours. Mine's Uzumaki Naruto. Kyuubi's eyes narrowed in suspicion, his fur bristling. I am not giving you my name, Ninjen, he snarled, his pride flaring. Naruto shrugged, seemingly unbothered. That's okay, I guess, he said, scratching his head. But since I'm not gonna call you Kyuubi anymore, I'll just have to come up with something else. How about Fluffy? No, wait, maybe Whiskers? Nah, too obvious. Naruto rambled, his voice full of playful contemplation. Kyuubi's massive eye twitched. Lessie! Naruto exclaimed, as if struck by sudden inspiration. Yeah, that's perfect. There's this book Ayam-chan read about a dog named Lassie, and, stop, Kyuubi growled, his irritation growing with every word. But wait, Lassie was a girl, and you don't have floppy ears, so that's not quite right either. Naruto kept going, seemingly unaware of the fox's rising fury. What about, Kurama? The fox roared, his voice shaking the walls of the sewer. Naruto's face split into a mischievous grin. Aha! So your name is Kurama. Realizing he'd been tricked into revealing his name, Kurama's eyes burned with fresh anger. That was a dirty trick, you stupid flesh bag. Naruto grinned triumphantly. See? That wasn't so hard, Kurama, he said, emphasizing the Biju's name with a teasing lilt. Kurama growled lowly, his voice like distant thunder. Are you an idiot? It's Kurama. Just Kurama, nothing else. Well, Kurama sure sounds better than Lessie, Naruto said with a bright smile, completely unfazed by the fox's menacing glare. He then did something that surprised the Biju even more. Naruto bowed slightly. Thank you, Kurama. Kurama blinked, stunned. What are you thanking me for? The fox asked, genuinely confused. For speeding up my healing. It helps a lot, Naruto said, his smile softening into something sincere. Kurama, still suspicious, narrowed his eyes. Is this some kind of trick to steal my chakra, brat? Because it won't work. Naruto tilted his head in confusion. Steal your chakra? He paused for a moment, considering. No, I mean, I know that at some point, I'll probably need your help. I'm not dumb enough to think I can handle everything on my own. But I don't want to steal your chakra, I want to earn it. One day, we'll fight for it, so you can see me as your equal, not your underling. Kurama's eyes widened slightly in surprise. Equal, the fox echoed, his tone laced with disbelief. Friends, even? You really are a fool. Maybe I am, Naruto admitted with a chuckle. But I don't care. I've already decided we're going to be friends. Kurama scoffed, shaking his massive head. Humph. You're delusional. Naruto yawned loudly, exhaustion finally catching up to him. Well, we'll figure it out later. I'm going to sleep now, got training with Sakura-chan tomorrow. Kurama's smirk returned as he rumbled, not your vixen, huh? Naruto blushed furiously, spluttering. Shut up, Arrow Kitsune. As the blonde began to fade from the mindscape, Kurama's chuckles followed him, echoing in the distance. Not my vixen, he says, the fox muttered, clearly amused. Good night, Arabaka. Naruto, now back in the real world, mumbled sleepily to himself, Arabaka, before finally collapsing onto the bed, letting sleep claim him at last. The next morning at Tazuna's house, Sakura stood by Naruto's bed, watching him sleep after the long and eventful night before. She sighed to herself, questioning whether she made a mistake by being so lenient with him. She nudged Naruto to wake him up, but things quickly went wrong when, in his sleep, Naruto instinctively pulled her down onto the bed with him. Caught off guard, Sakura found herself trapped in an awkward position as Naruto held her close, spooning her in his sleep. Though initially flustered and ready to react, she noticed that Naruto, still unconscious, was unintentionally channeling chakra, which confused and overwhelmed her senses. His innocent sleep talk only added to the situation's bizarre nature, further flustering Sakura. Suddenly, she snapped out of the strange moment, realizing the situation, and quickly jumped off the bed, accidentally throwing Naruto to the floor in the process, which woke him up. Dazed and confused, Naruto asked why she was in the room, clearly unaware of what had just transpired. Trying to compose herself, Sakura stammered an excuse about training, her face still bright red from the incident. Naruto, oblivious to the awkwardness, eagerly reminded her of their training plans and told her to have a big breakfast before they started. Flustered, Sakura hurried out of the room, leaving Naruto puzzled as to why she was acting so strange. The moment, while innocent in its misunderstanding, left Sakura embarrassed and even more uncertain about her feelings toward Naruto. In a quiet clearing in the woods, Naruto stood before Sakura, ready to begin their training session. He summoned 100 shadow clones with ease, sending them off to handle various tasks while he handed Sakura a small package. Confused, she unwrapped it, only to find a set of training weights inside. Weights? Sakura asked, lifting the items curiously. Yeah, they're my old ones. I noticed you're a bit slow, so we'll start by improving your physical strength and speed, Naruto explained in a surprisingly professional tone. After lunch, if you've made enough progress with the tree walking exercise, I'll teach you how to walk on water. Since I don't know any medical ninjutsu or genjutsu, and your chakra reserves aren't big enough for most of my ninjutsu, I won't be able to help much with those, but we'll focus on what I can teach you. Next week, we'll start improving your taijutsu. The bridge should be done in 2 weeks, so we've got some time to make real progress. Sakura blinked, taken aback. Wait. You can already do tree walking and water walking? Naruto shrugged. Well, yeah. I've been able to do them for over a year now. Honestly, every Jonin instructor should be teaching this stuff in the first week after the teams are formed. But instead, Kakashi's been teaching Sasuke a fire jutsu, Katon, Hozenka no jutsu, without showing him how to conserve chakra properly. That's just pathetic. His voice grew annoyed before he added under his breath, not that it wasn't even more pathetic when he left you hanging back then. Sakura overheard the last part, and her cheeks flushed slightly. She had thought Naruto called her pathetic before, but now she realized he hadn't meant it that way. There was concern in his voice, and it warmed her heart to know he had been looking out for her all along. Naruto snapped her out of her thoughts. Now, put the weights on and start running laps around the clearing. My clones will guide you on the rest later. He sat down and pulled a blindfold over his eyes, unsealing a wooden practice sword, a Bakken, from one of his scrolls. He handed it to a nearby clone. Before Sakura could ask what he was up to, the clone struck Naruto sharply on the side of the head with the Bakken, hard enough to draw blood. What the hell are you doing, Baka? Sakura shrieked, rushing to his side. Evasion training, Naruto mumbled, holding the bleeding spot on his head. Don't worry, Sakura-chan. I'm an Uzumaki, so I heal faster than normal. The cut'll be gone in a minute, Dadabayo. Sakura glared at him, her concern overriding her frustration. Are you an idiot? You're my teammate, so of course I'll worry if you're hurt. Her cheeks flushed slightly again, but this time out of frustration. I'll let your stupidity slide this time, but next time, tell your clone to use the blunt side of the Bakken, Baka. It looked like you were about to lose your head. Naruto blushed at her outburst but nodded sheepishly. You heard the lady, he told the clone, who adjusted the sword accordingly. He smiled, now get back to your own training, Sakura-chan. Reluctantly, Sakura returned to her training, running laps as instructed, though she kept a worried eye on Naruto as he resumed his strange, blindfolded practice. Inwardly, Naruto grimaced. Kenbun Shoku no Haki training is going to be painful, but no pain, no gain, right? He thought to himself as he prepared for the next strike. Neither of them noticed that someone had been watching. Hidden behind a nearby tree, a young boy observed the scene. With wide eyes, silently taking in Naruto's strength and determination. At Tazuna's house, the atmosphere during dinner had been lively, especially with Naruto recounting one of his famous pranks. You should have seen how fast he ran from those dogs. Ha ha ha. Naruto laughed, clearly enjoying the memory of one of his tricks on a member of the civilian council. Baka. You shouldn't have used dog pheromones on a council member. Sakura scolded him, her voice rising in exasperation. The dogs could have gotten hurt, or worse, they could have actually caught him. Naruto smirked, that familiar mischievous gleam in his eye. Who said they didn't? He replied slyly, causing Sakura to fume in frustration. Tsunami, always the gracious hostess, turned the conversation to a lighter note. How's your training going, Naruto-kun? Naruto beamed at the question, his excitement palpable. Pretty good. Sakura-chan is getting stronger every day, he said, his voice full of genuine pride. Sakura, taken aback by his compliment, blushed slightly, not used to receiving such praise from him. Sakura's blush didn't go unnoticed by Kakashi, who was clearly surprised by the revelation. Sakura is training with you, the Jonin asked, his usual nonchalance replaced by mild shock. Naruto's smile vanished, his tone suddenly cold. Someone had to help her train, considering you've been focused on Sasuke, Hatake, he said bluntly, causing an awkward silence to fall over the table. Just then, Inari, who had been silently brooding, slammed his hands on the table and shouted, "Why do you guys bother to try so hard? No matter how much you train, you're still no match for Gato's men. No matter how much you fight or how strong you think you are, when the weak face the strong, they'll always end up getting killed." Naruto leaned back in his chair, his expression unchanged by Inari's outburst. "Whatever, kid. I'm not like you." Inari's face twisted with anger as tears welled up in his eyes. "I'd hate to be like you," he cried. "You don't know anything about this country, yet you're acting like you can fix everything. What the hell do you know about me? You're always goofing off, always so cheerful, like you don't know how hard life can be." Naruto remained calm, his voice steady. "At least I'm not crying and whining all the time." Inari flinched, but Naruto wasn't done. "You say I don't know anything about this country, but what do you know? When was the last time you even stepped outside the house? Since I arrived here, I've been hunting, not just for us, but for the orphans in the village. I've made them meals, built them shelters, and taught them how to fend for themselves when I'm gone. The only time I've seen them cry is when they were thanking me for helping them." Inari's eyes widened in shock, but Naruto wasn't finished. His voice grew quieter, yet each word hit with the force of a punch. "And you must really hate your mother and grandfather." "Naruto!" Sakura cried, shocked by the harshness of his words. But Naruto pressed on, his gaze fixed on Inari. "You saw what happened to your father, didn't you?" So you know what would happen to your grandfather if we left, just like you wanted us to when we first got here. And what about your mother? Do you even understand what could have happened to her if we weren't here? Inari sat frozen, his eyes wide as plates as Naruto's words sunk in. Naruto's voice softened slightly, but it remained firm. And I'm not even talking about the pain you're putting them through by isolating yourself and throwing temper tantrums every day. Your father made a mistake, Inari. When you're up against a stronger opponent, you ask for help. If the whole village had stood up to Gato that day, maybe you could have driven him out. But you and everyone else were too scared. Naruto stood up from the table, his presence commanding the room. A hero isn't someone who never feels fear. A hero is someone who doesn't let fear stop them from doing what's right, someone who fights to protect what's precious to them. That's the difference between us. I don't sit around crying about how hard my life has been. I face it head-on. Tsunami, Tazuna, and Sakura all sat in stunned silence, while Inari stared at Naruto, tears streaming down his face. I'm sorry, Tsunami, Naruto said quietly, his tone softer now. I've lost my appetite, and I'm pretty tired. I'm going to retire for the night. He started walking toward the stairs but paused as he reached the foot of them. Without turning around, he added, "Oh, and Inari, just so you know, I killed Gato 2 days ago. My clones took care of the last of his men about an hour ago, and they're helping the captives he held return home." With that, Naruto ascended the stairs, leaving the room in a thick, stunned silence. After a minute, Inari, still shocked, stammered, "He's lying." Sasuke, who had remained quiet throughout most of the dinner, finally spoke up. "If there's one thing I know about the Dobe, it's that he hardly ever lies," he said, his voice calm but serious. Even when Iruka-sensei dragged him back to class after one of his pranks, the only thing Naruto ever said was that he didn't regret anything. No excuses, no lies. Just that he regretted nothing. Sasuke stood from the table, his eyes briefly meeting Inari's before heading toward the stairs. If Naruto says he killed Gato, then Gato's dead. It's as simple as that. As Sasuke left, the room was filled with heavy silence. Inari sat there, stunned by the weight of Naruto's words, while the others were left to their own thoughts, the enormity of what Naruto had revealed sinking in. The boy who had seemed so carefree, so reckless, had faced battles they hadn't even known about, had been protecting the village, its orphans, and them, without asking for thanks or recognition. And now, they had to come to terms with the fact that the hero they needed had been right in front of them all along. Late that night at Tazuna's house, Sakura lay awake in bed, her mind racing after Naruto's shocking revelation at dinner. 2 days ago, she thought, staring up at the ceiling, replaying his words in her mind. Did he really kill Gato because of me? Did he go that far to protect me? A strange warmth fluttered in her chest at the idea. Her inner voice, ever the romantic, piped up, it would be so romantic if he did. Just as she began to get lost in her thoughts, she heard the soft sound of footsteps in the hall. Curious, she crept to her door, carefully opening it a crack. To her surprise, she saw Naruto heading downstairs. Without making a sound, Sakura followed, her curiosity getting the better of her. She stopped halfway down the stairs, just out of sight, when she heard Naruto's voice. "Tsunami?" Naruto called out quietly, noticing her in the kitchen. "Oh, Naruto-kun. I wasn't the only one who got thirsty, it seems," Tsunami replied with a kind smile, holding a glass of water. Naruto rubbed the back of his neck awkwardly. "Why yeah, about how I treated Inari at dinner." "You don't need to apologize," Tsunami interrupted gently. "You opened his eyes. He apologized to me and father after you left. Someone needed to snap him out of his funk, and I wouldn't have had the heart to do it. So, thank you." Naruto looked away, his face serious. "There's nothing to thank me for. I lost my cool back there. Tsunami handed him a glass of water, smiling. Well, should warn you, Inari now thinks of you as a hero. Naruto, who had been drinking, paused. His voice was quieter when he responded, I'm no hero. Sakura, hidden on the stairs, leaned forward, her curiosity piqued even more. Tsunami's tone became more thoughtful. So, Gato is dead, then? Yeah, Naruto replied simply, taking another sip of water. Can I ask you something, Naruto-kun? Tsunami asked after a moment of hesitation. Naruto nodded, giving her his full attention. Did you kill him because his men attacked Sakura-san? Sakura's heart skipped a beat as she waited for his response, pressing herself against the wall to remain unseen. No, at least not entirely, Naruto admitted. Sakura felt a wave of disappointment wash over her, though she didn't understand why. But then he continued, I was already planning to kill him, originally tonight. But after they attacked you and Sakura-chan, I couldn't let them live another day. And when I saw Sakura-chan wounded, when I thought that if I hadn't been fast enough, she could have died, it felt like. He trailed off, struggling to find the right words. Tsunami stepped in softly. It felt like your whole world was crumbling around you. Naruto nodded, his voice barely above a whisper. Yeah. Sakura's heart raced, the raw emotion in his voice striking something deep within her. The warmth in her chest from earlier returned, this time stronger. Tsunami smiled warmly at Naruto, her eyes soft. Oh, Naruto-kun. I have news for you. You don't just like Sakura-san. She paused for a moment before dropping the bombshell. You love her. Both Naruto and Sakura, still hidden, were equally shocked. Sakura felt a lump form in her throat, her thoughts spinning. Love? How could that be? She had always been so awful to him, pushing him away, even ridiculing him at times. Yet, he loved her. Love. Naruto stammered, his eyes wide. Well, I mean, I read a romance book Ayam-chan gave me once, and in it, the guy fell in love with a girl at first sight. I guess I felt that way about Sakura-chan when I first saw her. But to hear it from someone else. Naruto sighed, looking down at his glass of water. Please don't tell anyone. Back in Konoha, people don't exactly like me. Actually, most of the village hates me. I wouldn't be surprised if someone tried to hurt her just to make me suffer. I don't believe in revenge, but I'm not sure I'd be able to forgive anyone who'd do that. Tsunami's eyes filled with concern. Surely they wouldn't hurt a child, would they? Naruto's voice was quiet but firm. They didn't care about that when they attacked me. I have my own room at the hospital because I've been there so many times. His sad smile only added to the weight of his words, shocking both Tsunami and Sakura. I'm not strong enough to protect her yet, not if people find out how I feel. And Sakura-chan's just started training seriously. I doubt she'd even care about how I feel, anyway. She's still got her eyes on Sasuke. Sakura's heart clenched painfully at that, guilt washing over her. She had spent so long obsessing over Sasuke, while completely ignoring the boy who, without complaint, had stood by her side. Her eyes watered slightly as she struggled with her emotions. Tsunami's eyes shimmered with tears. If it's so bad back in Konoha, why haven't you left? Naruto's response came without hesitation. Shinobi are meant to endure. So, I've endured. The pain, the loneliness, the glares, the hate. I endured it all because I hoped that one day, I'd find precious people. And I have. His voice grew more determined. More than I ever expected. I want to protect them. I want to protect the village, even the villagers who hurt me. I want to protect the children, those who haven't been born yet. I want to become Hokage so I can change the village, and the entire world, to a place where people don't have to suffer the way I did. Sakura's breath hitched, her chest tightening. She had never truly realized the depth of Naruto's dreams, his hope to protect everyone, even those who had treated him so terribly. His strength, his will to endure, filled her with awe and something she couldn't quite name. "Well, I'm off to bed," Naruto said, breaking the silence. "I've got training with Sakura-chan tomorrow." Hearing that, Sakura quickly and quietly made her way back to her room before Naruto could discover her eavesdropping. Her thoughts swirled as she processed everything she had just heard. Meanwhile, back downstairs, Naruto stopped as he was about to go up the stairs. "Oh, and one more thing, Tsunami. I noticed your diploma while I was looking for a blanket. You studied management, right?" Tsunami blinked in surprise. "Yes, in the capital of Mizu no Kuni." "Why?" Naruto grinned. "Well, before his death, Gato signed everything over to me. I was wondering, would you like to be the CEO of my new company? We'll rename it to Yuzu Corporation, of course. I trust you, and I think you'd do a great job." Tsunami blinked, completely taken aback. I am honored, but I've never worked in management before. And I don't want to leave Nami no Kuni." "You wouldn't have to leave," Naruto explained. "I want to move the headquarters here. Thanks to the bridge, this fishing village could become a port city. No one will have to starve again. I'll even leave a clone to help you with the paperwork while I'm training. I know you'll be great at it, you just have to believe in yourself." Tsunami was speechless for a moment before she bowed slightly. "Well, if you put it that way, it would be an honor, Naruto-sama." Naruto's face twisted into a pout. "Ugh, now you're just being mean." He quickly recovered with a smile. "But seriously, I'm glad to hear it. Good night, Tsunami." "Good night, Naruto-kun." "Sweet dreams, about Sakura-san," she teased, laughing as Naruto nearly tripped on his way up the stairs. Naruto mumbled, "Arrow CEO," before finally heading to bed, leaving Tsunami chuckling softly. Upstairs, Sakura lay in bed, her heart heavy with everything she had learned. She couldn't shake the feeling that, after all this time, she had misunderstood Naruto more than she realized. The time had come for Team 7 to say their goodbyes to the people of Nami no Kuni. The group stood at the edge of the bridge, preparing for their departure, when Inari, tears welling up in his eyes, approached Naruto. "Do you really have to go?" he asked, his voice tinged with sadness. Naruto placed a hand on the younger boy's head, ruffling his hair gently. "Yep," he replied with a grin. "But I'm leaving this place in your and your mom's hands. I would leave it in your grandfather's hands too, but he's just an old drunkard." Tazuna, who overheard this, responded with an indignant "Hey" from the sidelines, causing some chuckles from the crowd. Naruto's grin softened as he asked, "Can I trust you, Inari?" Inari nodded fiercely. "Of course. And if something bad happens, I can always ask for your help, right?" Naruto smiled warmly, moved by the boy's earnestness. "Of course. I'll always help my precious people if I can." This admission brought tears of joy to Inari's eyes, and the boy hugged Naruto tightly. Soon after, a small group of children, orphans Naruto had helped during his time in the village, approached him. One of the younger girls spoke up, her voice filled with gratitude. "We want to thank you, Nisama. You helped us when no one else would, gave us food, taught us how to take care of ourselves, and even built us a home and bought us new clothes. Thank you." Naruto, a little embarrassed, laughed awkwardly as they hugged him in gratitude. He. "I'm just a free spirit, doing what I want, when I want. If I didn't want to help, I wouldn't have. There's no need to thank me for that." Despite his humble words, Tsunami smiled at him warmly. "You are still a hero to the people of Nami no Kuni, Naruto-kun." Blushing from all the praise, Naruto whined, "Tsunami-I." The crowd laughed at his discomfort, the lightheartedness filling the air. As much as I enjoy watching Naruto squirm, Kakashi interjected with his usual aloofness, we need to get going. The team began walking away from the bridge, with Naruto waving back at everyone. See ya. I'll visit you sometime. Naruto shouted. Over his shoulder. The entire village waved back as the shinobi headed into the forest, the bonds they had formed lingering in the air long after they disappeared into the trees. Once the Konoha team was gone, Tazuna rubbed his chin thoughtfully. Now that they're gone, we need to name this bridge. Tsunami gave her father a skeptical look. Please don't suggest something ridiculous like the Super Great Tazuna Bridge. But one of the older orphans stepped forward, a smile on his face. How about the Great Naruto Bridge? In honor of the hero who saved our country from Gato, and who gave us hope and courage for a better future? Tsunami's eyes softened, and she nodded. That's a fine name indeed. Back in Konoha, the team arrived at the village gates. The guards, Kotetsu and Izumo, sat lazily in their chairs, bored out of their minds. Ah. I'm so bored, Kotetsu whined, yawning. Careful, or you'll jinx us, Izumo warned. At that very moment, a loud "Yua" echoed from above. Both guards looked up just in time to see Naruto, wearing an Oni mask and dangling from the roof, pretending to be a demon. Aya! What the? They screamed, falling backwards in their chairs. Laughter erupted from Naruto as he jumped down, pulling off the mask. Oh man! Ha ha ha! You should see your faces. Priceless! Naruto howled with laughter, while behind him, Sakura giggled softly, Sasuke smirked, though it could easily be mistaken for a smile, and Kakashi gave an eye smile, before going back to his book. Naruto. I should have known, Izumo groaned as he picked himself up. He turned to Kotetsu with a glare. I told you not to jinx it. Feigning sadness, Naruto pouted. Oh, and here I thought you guys liked me. Both guards chuckled. How was your mission, Naruto? Kotetsu asked, still smiling. Naruto grinned. It was fun. I cashed in a bounty for the demon brothers, had a showdown with Zabuza, saved Kakashi-sensei when he got in over his head, freed a country from a tyrant, and made a few new friends. All in all, it was a good time. Stupefied, the guards just stared at him, dumbfounded by the casual way he recounted such wild events. Well, you'd better go report to the Hokage, Kotetsu finally managed to say. Yup. See ya around, Dadabayo. Naruto called as he and his team made their way through the village. As they walked, Sakura noticed something unsettling. The villagers were giving Naruto cold, hateful glares. Their eyes were filled with disdain, as if they were looking at something vile. She hadn't fully realized before just how deep the hatred for Naruto ran. So, it's true, she thought sadly. He really is hated by people here. But, would they really hurt me just to make him suffer? Is this the same village I've lived in all my life? Her heart grew heavy with the realization, and she looked down, troubled by what she saw. When they reached the Hokage tower, Naruto was the first to burst in, as usual. Akira-ne-chan, he called out when he saw the Hokage's assistant, Akira, behind her desk. Akira, a beautiful woman with a kind smile, immediately stood and hugged Naruto tightly, pulling his head into her chest. Kakashi, seeing this, giggled perversely behind his book. Naruto-kun. I missed you so much. Akira said, hugging him tighter before finally letting him go so he could breathe. You weren't hurt, were you? When I heard you faced Zabuza Momochi, I was worried you'd lose a limb or two with your carelessness. Naruto's shoulders slumped, a bit depressed. You think so little of me, huh? Akira laughed softly. I know you, Naruto-kun. You're brave, but you can be reckless. You're always throwing yourself in front of danger to protect others. It's just who you are. Naruto blushed slightly at her words but quickly perked up. We're here to report to Gigi. Is he in? Akira's mood cooled slightly as she glanced at Kakashi. Hokage-sama is waiting for you in room 106 with his advisors. He has some concerns about the well-being of this team. The entire team froze, eyes widening at the implication. Kakashi cleared his throat nervously, leading them toward the room. Before you go, Naruto-kun, Akira called, catching his attention, I have a question for you. Yeah? Naruto asked, turning back. Akira smiled sweetly. Would you be the godfather of my baby? Naruto's eyes went wide as his face turned red. Why you're 2 months pregnant, Akira finished with a proud smile. Naruto's face lit up, and he rushed forward, hugging her as gently as he could, careful not to hurt her. I'm so happy for you. Congratulations, Akira-ne-chan. Akira laughed warmly at his enthusiasm. Thank you, Naruto-kun. So, will you be the godfather? Naruto hesitated. I don't know. I'm still young, and I don't know if I'd be much help with a baby. Akira's smile grew even softer. I know you better than that. You've been helping at the hospital for a year now, especially with newborns. My friend who works there said you're the only one who can calm some of the babies down. She says you'll make an excellent father someday. Naruto blushed, and his teammates looked at him in surprise. None of them had known about this side of him. Even Sakura felt a newfound respect growing inside her. But, do you think it's wise, given my situation? Naruto asked, his voice dropping as he looked down at the floor. Akira's expression softened further. I don't care about that. My husband and I are both jonin, we can protect ourselves. And besides, Naruto-kun, my child will be safe. They'll have you. She then smirked playfully and added, or do you not think my baby is important enough? Naruto panicked. No, no. Of course your baby is important. I'll do it. I'll be the godfather. Just please don't cry, Akira-ne-chan. His flustered response earned soft chuckles from the others. Akira hugged him again, her eyes filled with warmth. Thank you, Naruto-kun. You're going to be a wonderful godfather. Naruto blushed even harder but smiled brightly. I'll do my best, Dadabayo. Later, after the team gave their mission reports to the Hokage and his advisors, the discussion took a serious turn. The Hokage spoke first, his voice stern. Kakashi, I'm concerned about your leadership. You failed to notice that Naruto had been sending his clones to team meetings and likely to training as well. As a result, I've become concerned about the well-being of your team. Kakashi's heart sank, but before he could say anything, Koharu, one of the Hokage's advisors, cut in. However, Naruto's actions were necessary given the circumstances. He took initiative when you did not, and his actions saved lives. Therefore, I see no reason to punish him for what could be seen as insubordination. That being said, the Hokage continued, I cannot overlook your favoritism toward Sasuke, nor the fact that you allowed an unprepared team to go on such a dangerous mission. For this reason, we have decided to assign a second Jonin to Team 7. Kakashi blinked in surprise. A second Jonin? The Hokage nodded. Send her in. The door opened, and a woman entered the room, accompanied by 3 large dogs. She stepped forward and bowed respectfully. This is Hana Inuzuka, the Hokage introduced. She will share authority with you on Team 7. Hana, your primary responsibility will be teaching Sakura in medical ninjutsu, chakra control, and any other skills she needs to grow as a kunoichi. Hana nodded confidently. Yes, Hokage-sama. Sasuke scowled. Wait. Kakashi is supposed to teach me, and this new one is supposed to teach Sakura, but what about the dobe? Hiruzen's eyes glinted with amusement as he said, in fact, Naruto was the one who requested Hana's assignment. Both Sakura and Kakashi looked shocked by this. Naruto grinned. I figured she could help you better than I could, Sakura-chan. She's a kunoichi and a medic. It just makes sense. Sakura's heart warmed at his thoughtfulness. Even now, he's thinking about me, she realized. What about you? She asked softly. Naruto shrugged. I'll manage. I'm used to training on my own. Koharu cleared her throat. However, we will not leave you without resources, Naruto-kun. You'll be granted full access to the Chunin section of the library to further your studies. Naruto's face lit up with excitement. Awesome, Databayo. The Hokage chuckled. But, Naruto, if you try to send a clone to training, I will ban you from eating ramen. Naruto gasped dramatically. What? That's just evil, GG. That's like saying the sun won't rise tomorrow or that the wind won't blow or that Sakura-chan should stop being cute. It's impossible. Sakura blushed slightly at the unexpected compliment, her inner self cheering wildly. The Hokage smiled warmly at Naruto's antics. Be that as it may, Naruto-kun, those are the rules. You're all dismissed. Get some rest, you've earned it. As they left the room, Naruto grinned widely. I'm gonna get in some more training before bed. Hiruzen sighed, watching the boy dash off. He just came back from a mission, and already he's back to training. That boy. The old Hokage shook his head, but his smile was filled with pride. And so, with new dynamics in place, Team 7 began the next phase of their journey. The trials and tribulations they had faced in Nami no Kuni had brought them closer together and set the stage for the challenges that awaited them back in Konoha. But one thing was clear, Naruto Uzumaki was no longer just the loudmouth prankster of the village. He was a shinobi determined to protect his precious people, no matter the cost. The Yamanaka flower shop was quiet when Naruto entered, causing the bell above the door to jingle softly. Ino, standing behind the counter, looked up from arranging flowers and smiled brightly when she recognized the familiar blonde. Welcome to Yamanaka Flower Shop. Naruto, I haven't seen you in a while. Yeah, Naruto grinned, walking up to the counter. I just got back from a mission in Nami no Kuni. While I was there, I found 2 Strelitzia reginae on a small island nearby. I took one, and I thought you might like the other, since I didn't see any in your shop. He placed a sealing scroll on the counter, his expression casual. Ino blinked in surprise, her cheeks turning a soft pink. You brought me a gift, she asked, her voice a bit breathless, clearly caught off guard. Naruto, noticing her reaction, tilted his head to the side in confusion. Yeah. You like flowers, right? He asked innocently. Akira-chan said I should give flowers to girls I like, but if you don't want it, I can take it back. No. Ino interrupted quickly, her face now a bright shade of red. She hugged the scroll tightly to her chest. I like it, thank you, she added, her heart fluttering. But then, Naruto's earlier words sank in, and she felt her blush deepen even more. Wait. You like me? She stammered, eyes wide with realization. Naruto's face lit up with his usual, carefree smile. Of course. You're a friend. Why wouldn't I like you? He replied, his tone light and innocent. Ino's blush began to fade as she processed his response, her heart calming but leaving a strange disappointment in its wake. Oh, yeah. Thanks for the flower, Naruto, she said, smiling but feeling oddly deflated. Why am I disappointed? I like Sasuke-kun, don't I? She thought, confused by the unexpected feelings. Shaking it off, she asked, so, do you need anything else? Yeah, actually, Naruto replied, his voice brightening again. I need a bouquet of red roses. Ino raised an eyebrow, intrigued. Are you giving them to Forehead? She asked, referring to Sakura and bracing herself for his answer. Naruto shook his head. Nah, they're not. For me. He pointed to a man standing across the road, leaning casually against a tree. Ino recognized him immediately. Asuma-sensei? She thought, her interest piqued. He was looking at that beautiful lady over there with the same look that I. Naruto paused briefly before shaking his head. Never mind that. Anyway, I think he likes her, but for some reason, he's too scared to ask her out. It's stupid, really. In our line of work, wasting time only leads to regrets. Ino handed him the bouquet of roses, curious now. So, she asked, trying to sound casual, are you going to ask the girl you like out? Naruto smiled wistfully as he looked down at the roses in his hands. No, our circumstances are different, he said softly, his voice tinged with a sadness that Ino wasn't used to hearing from him. His eyes seemed distant, as if lost in thought. Then he whispered, almost to himself, sometimes I think I'm not meant to be loved in this village. Ino's heart clenched painfully at those words, her eyes widening in shock. What do you mean, not meant to be loved, Naruto? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper, laced with concern. Naruto snapped out of his reverie, blinking. I said that out loud? He let out an awkward laugh, trying to brush it off. Oh, don't worry about it, Ino. It's nothing. He glanced at the clock on the wall. Look at the time. I gotta go. See ya around, Ino. And with that, he bolted out of the shop, running across the street toward Asuma. Ino watched him go, a sense of unease settling in her chest. Why would he say something like that? She wondered, her heart still heavy from his earlier words. Across the street, Naruto handed the bouquet to Asuma, who was puffing on his cigarette, seemingly lost in thought. Here, Naruto said, thrusting the roses into his hands. Asuma blinked, looking down at the bouquet in confusion. I don't like flowers, kid, he muttered, the cigarette dangling from his lips. Naruto grinned mischievously. They're not for you. They're for the lady you've been staring at. Asuma froze, his cigarette dropping from his mouth in shock. Why? Why would I want to give them to her? He asked, his voice flustered. Because you like her, Naruto said bluntly, his expression as straightforward as his words. Asuma stared at the boy, his eyes wide with disbelief. The sheer bluntness of Naruto's statement left him speechless for a moment. Naruto smiled and continued, now, you've got two choices. You can run away like a coward, or you can give her the bouquet and ask her out. But let me tell you, wasting time in our line of work only leads to regrets. With a cheeky wave, Naruto added, anyway, the choice is yours. Nice to meet ya, beard man. Good luck, Dadabayo. And with that, Naruto dashed off, leaving Asuma standing there, bouquet in hand. For a long moment, Asuma stared at the retreating figure of the blonde, his mind reeling. Then he looked down at the roses in his hand, back at Kurenai, who stood talking to some of the villagers, and finally back at the roses. Taking a deep breath, he steeled himself and began walking toward the woman he had liked since their genin days. As Naruto ran off, he couldn't help but smile to himself. I hope he asks her out, he thought. But behind the smile was a lingering sadness, one that he pushed down as quickly as it appeared. In the end, he thought, some things aren't meant for me. Back in the Yamanaka flower shop, Ino stood behind the counter, holding the scroll with the Strelitzia regini tightly. Naruto's words still echoed in her mind. Sometimes I think I'm not meant to be loved in this village. Her heart clenched again. For a moment, her thoughts wandered to Naruto, the boy she had never taken too seriously, the one who was always loud and carefree. But beneath that, was there more? He's always so cheerful, she thought, but maybe he's hiding more than we realize. As she stood there, alone in the flower shop, she couldn't shake the feeling that maybe, just maybe, Naruto wasn't as carefree as he always seemed. It was not a good morning for Hinata. After losing a sparring match to her younger sister Hanabi the day before, her father had forbidden her from joining the family for breakfast. Her mother had managed to sneak her a small meal, but things quickly went downhill from there. After leaving her room, she had run into her cousin Niji, who coldly called her a failure once again. Then, as she exited the Hyuga compound, two elders berated her, labeling her as useless and pathetic. By the time she reached her team's training ground, her spirits were already crushed. To make matters worse, another elder had seemingly followed her, continuing the verbal assault. "You are a disappointment to not only the main family but to the entire clan," the elder, Nishoku Hyuga, sneered, his regal kimono flowing with every movement. The air around him was thick with arrogance. "You disgrace us all. You should have been dealt with a long time ago," he growled, raising his hand to strike her. Hinata shut her eyes tightly, bracing herself for the impact. Crack! Aya! Nishoku screamed in pain. Hinata's eyes snapped open in shock to find the elder kneeling before her, clutching his wrist. Naruto stood in front of her, his hand gripping Nishoku's wrist tightly, a look of cold fury in his eyes. In Naruto's other hand was a golden katana, its sharp tip dangerously close to Nishoku's throat. Do you know who I am?" Nishoku stammered, trying to sound strong despite the obvious fear in his voice. Naruto's eyes narrowed as he replied, his voice cold and steady. "No, but I'm sure you know who I am." His gaze was hard, filled with barely contained rage. "I'd like to think of Hinata as a friend, one of my precious people. When I heard you berating her, I was ready to hurt you. But when you raised your hand to strike her..." His grip tightened on the elder's wrist. "I thought I might just kill you." Nishoku's eyes widened in terror. He looked up at the blonde, realizing that Naruto was not bluffing. Behind him, Hinata's heart raced, but for a different reason. "Naruto-kun thinks of me as a precious person?" she thought, feeling a surge of warmth in her chest. "He saved me, again. My knight in shining armor." Her admiration and gratitude swelled as she watched Naruto throw Nishoku aside as if he were nothing. "This is your first and last warning," Naruto said, his voice low and dangerous. "Tell everyone in your clan, Hinata Hyuga is off limits. Now scram before I change my mind." He turned away from the elder, who scrambled to his feet and fled without another word. Naruto turned to Hinata, his demeanor instantly softening. "Hey, Hinata. What are you doing here?" he asked gently, a smile creeping onto his face. Hinata blushed brightly, her heart thumping against her ribs. I came for TT team training, but I forgot it was cancelled." She stuttered, barely able to speak in front of him. Naruto tilted his head, giving her a curious look. "So, you don't have anything to do, right?" Hinata nodded slowly, feeling her face heat up even more. "Well, since my friend just left for a mission and I was planning to train with him, I'm left hanging. Would you like to train with me?" Hinata's eyes widened in shock. "Train, with Naruto-kun?" Before she could even reply, her legs gave out, and she fainted on the spot. Naruto quickly caught her and sighed, shaking his head with a small smile. He unsealed some smelling salts from a scroll he had with him and waved them under Hinata's nose, waking her up. "Where am I?" Hinata asked groggily as her vision cleared. "In my arms," Naruto replied with a playful grin. The realization hit her all at once, and Hinata's face turned beet red. She was about to faint again, but Naruto gently placed a finger on her forehead, sending a small pulse of chakra to keep her from losing consciousness. Now, you didn't answer my question, Hinata." Hinata blushed even more, her mind racing. "He wants to train with me. She fidgeted nervously, pressing her index fingers together. I don't want to hold you back, and Naruto-kun, she said softly, sadness in her voice. Naruto blinked in confusion. Hold me back? What are you talking about? He looked genuinely perplexed. In the academy, you were one of the best at taijutsu. Why would you hold me back? He paused, then added, of course, you didn't seem to give it your all in the spars, but you're still awesome. Hinata's heart soared. Naruto-kun thinks I'm awesome? She couldn't believe it. He doesn't think I'm a failure. He believes in me. She smiled shyly, pressing her fingers together. I didn't want to hurt them. Naruto's eyes widened comically. You didn't want to hurt them, he repeated, sounding shocked. Hinata, if you hurt someone during training, it just helps them get better for real battles. Not trying your best makes it harder for them to improve. It's like you're saying they're not worth your effort, which is kinda mean when you think about it. Training is about giving your all, don't you think? Hinata blinked, Naruto's words hitting her hard. Was I really hurting them by holding back? She had thought she was being kind by not going all out, especially with Hanabi. But now, hearing Naruto's perspective, she wondered if she had been wrong. Suddenly, Naruto's face lit up with an idea. I know, he exclaimed, jumping to his feet, still holding her. I found this scroll a while back. It was written by someone named Himawari Hyuga. I think it might be useful for you. Do you want to try it out? Himawari Hyuga? Hinata asked, startled. That's my grandmother. How did you find it, Naruto-kun? Naruto scratched the back of his head, a sheepish grin on his face. Wait, she was your grandmother? That's awesome. I found it on the black market 10 years ago. Some guy named Hiroshi Hyuga sold it. He frowned. Why would your family sell something like that? He quickly shook his head. Doesn't matter. I'll get it for you. Hold on. Naruto created a clone, which disappeared in a flash. A few moments later, the clone returned, handing him a scroll. Here, Naruto said, handing the scroll to Hinata. I was going to give it to you anyway, so now seems like the perfect time. Just don't tell anyone about it, okay? I don't want it getting stolen again. Hinata stared at the scroll in awe, clutching it to her chest. Why would I be angry at you, Naruto-kun? She asked, confused. Naruto looked at her, puzzled. Well, back in the academy, every time I tried to talk to you, you turned red, or ran away, or fainted. I thought maybe you were mad at me or didn't like me. I even asked Irika-sensei and Gigi if you were sick. He chuckled. Turns out you weren't, so I guess you just didn't like me, huh? Hinata's eyes widened as the realization sank in. All this time, he thought I was angry at him. She felt a wave of guilt wash over her. He even asked the Hokage and Irika-sensei about me? Her heart warmed at the thought. And Naruto-kun. I was never angry at you. Naruto smiled at her, relieved. That's good to know. He paused for a moment. So, would you like to train with me, then? I'd love to help you try out this new style. Hinata's heart fluttered. Would you really? She asked shyly, her face heating up again. Naruto smirked playfully. Of course. It'd be fun. And with that, Hinata fainted again, causing Naruto to sigh and smile affectionately. Man, she's so cute when she's shy, he thought as he caught her. Several hours later, the training session had come to an end. The sun was beginning to lower, casting warm hues over the training ground. Hinata lay on the ground, completely exhausted, but with a smile on her face. She hadn't landed a single hit on Naruto, but she had improved dramatically, even managing to make him sweat. I didn't know you were that good, Hinata. You really made me work for it, Naruto said, standing over her with a grin. Hinata, despite her exhaustion, beamed with pride. Thank you, and Naruto-kun. Naruto crouched down next to her. Hey, do you want to do this again sometime? You're a great training partner. Hinata's response was immediate. Oh, of course, she blurted out, a little too quickly. Realizing how eager she sounded, she blushed even harder. I am mean. I would love to train with you again, and Naruto-kun. Naruto smiled warmly, about to respond when an ANBU agent appeared beside them, wearing a bear mask. Uzumaki Naruto, you've been summoned to the council chambers, the ANBU said flatly. Why? Naruto asked, his expression confused. You are accused of bringing bodily harm and attempted murder against a Hyuga elder this morning. Naruto blinked, then shrugged. Oh yeah, I remember. He turned to Hinata with a soft smile. I've gotta go, Hinata. See you later. The ANBU added, actually, Hinata Hyuga is needed as a witness. Naruto raised an eyebrow. You can either come with me now or try to catch me later if you want to take Hinata with us. Your choice. The ANBU hesitated for a moment, then relented. Let's go, Uzumaki-san. Before Naruto could leave, Hinata stood up shakily. Wait. I want to help, and Naruto-kun. Naruto placed a gentle hand on her cheek, stopping her. Don't worry about me, Hinata. But if you want to help, go home and rest. Train every day, okay? I want to see how much you've grown next time we train together. His voice was soft, filled with kindness. Hinata blushed deeply at the intimate contact and nodded slowly. She stood there in a daze as Naruto and the ANBU disappeared, her heart fluttering as she processed his words. He believes in me, he wants to see me grow, she thought, her heart swelling with newfound determination. The council chambers were tense as Naruto entered, escorted by the ANBU with the bear mask. The room was filled with important figures. The Hokage himself, Hiruzen Sarutobi, sat at the head, flanked by his advisors, Koharu Utatane and Hamura Mitokado. The civilian council members and Shinobi clan heads completed the assembly. It was a rare occasion for a young genin like Naruto to be summoned before the full council. Uzumaki Naruto is here, Hokage-sama, the ANBU announced, bowing slightly before stepping back. Send him in, Hiruzen said, his voice calm but firm. Naruto walked in confidently, his trademark grin on his face, though his eyes carried a serious edge. So, what do you want from me, Gigi? Elders? The Council of Idiots, he said, addressing the room with a smile, causing a collective intake of breath from the civilian councilors. How dare you, one of the civilian council members screamed, standing up in anger. Show some respect to the council, to who? Naruto interrupted smoothly, cutting the man off. To you? And what have you done for this village? His smile disappeared, replaced with a serious tone. From where I stand, all you do is greedily try to gain more money and power for yourselves or your clans. Meanwhile, I've had to donate my own money to orphanages and the hospital so they could function properly. And what have you done in that time? Nothing. You even allowed my mistreatment because it was easier than dealing with the aftermath of October 10th. What is one child's happiness, or life, compared to your comfort? His voice dripped with contempt. Don't demand respect if you've done nothing to earn it. I respect Gigi, I mildly respect the elders, but the rest of you? You're just leeches. The room fell silent, shocked by his boldness. Naruto's sharp gaze then landed directly on Danzo, whose expression remained unreadable. Especially the dark, power-hungry, and foolish types who should have died a long time ago, Naruto added coldly, making it clear that he was addressing Danzo specifically. The tension in the room thickened, and Hiruzen sighed. He had long known that Naruto harbored anger toward the village's darker elements, but seeing it on full display in front of the council was another matter. "Naruto-kun," the Hokage began, his voice trying to mediate the situation, "I brought you here because of a serious matter. Is it true that you harmed Nishoku Hyuga, an elder of the Hyuga clan?" Naruto blinked, tilting his head in confusion. "Who?" "Me, you peasant." Nishoku shouted angrily, stepping forward from his place beside the Hyuga clan head. Naruto glanced at the old man, recognition dawning. "Oh, right. You're the one who tried to hit Hinata." His eyes narrowed. "Honestly, now that I think about it, I should have killed you." Gasps filled the room as the counselors and clan heads processed his words. Nishoku's face turned red with rage. "How dare you, you unworthy!" Silence. The third Hokage's voice boomed, instantly quelling the outbursts. He turned back to Naruto, his expression stern. "What do you mean by traitor, Naruto-kun?" Naruto crossed his arms, his tone matter-of-fact. "In the eyes of the law, retired shinobi are nothing more than glorified civilians. If a civilian attacks an active shinobi, especially without just cause, it's treason. And when he tried to strike Hinata, the heiress of the Hyuga clan, it became even worse. He was attempting to usurp power, which makes him a traitor to his clan, too. It's disgraceful that the Hyuga would allow something like this to happen." Hiruzen's expression darkened, and he turned toward the elder. "Is this true?" he asked gravely. That's a clan matter." Nishoku stammered, visibly panicking. "Acts of treason against Konoha override any clan laws," Naruto interjected smoothly. "We're talking about a crime against the village now." The Hokage's gaze hardened. "I will ask you once more, Nishoku Hyuga, were you trying to harm Hinata Hyuga?" His voice carried a warning, leaving no room for lies. "And if you lie, I will have a Yamanaka search your mind." The elder's face drained of color, and he stammered, I only intended to slap her. She's a disgrace to the clan." "Disgrace to the clan?" "More like disgrace to Konoha," Naruto muttered, his voice low but clear enough for the room to hear. Hiruzen sighed, pinching the bridge of his nose. "I see. Naruto-kun, I apologize for pulling you from your training over this." Naruto's eyes narrowed, his expression serious. "Saying sorry isn't enough this time, Gigi. I want retribution." The room buzzed with murmurs as the council members exchanged uneasy glances. Koharu Yuditane, one of the elders, leaned forward slightly. "What is it that you seek, boy? You can't be serious, Elder Yuditane." Kirito Musashi, a civilian counselor, spoke up. "You're allowing him to make demands?" Koharu didn't even glance at the man. "The law is the law. He is within his rights. Now, answer the question, Naruto." Naruto's face remained impassive as he spoke. "From Nishoku, I want 3 high-level chakra control exercises and a payment of 25,000 ryo to be donated to charity." The council shifted, and Hamura Mitokado nodded. "That seems reasonable." "And from the Hyuga clan," Naruto continued, his fox-like smirk returning, "I want Hinata to sweat a little with me." Hayashi Hyuga, the head of the clan, who had remained silent until now, narrowed his eyes at Naruto. "This is not the proper way to ask to court my daughter, boy," he said coldly. Naruto blinked in confusion. "Court? As in tennis?" Several council members stifled laughs, and Hiruzen chuckled lightly. "No, Naruto-kun. Court as in dating." Naruto's eyes widened in shock. "What? I just want to train with her, not date her. And besides, if I wanted to ask her out, I'd ask her, not you." He paused, scratching his head. "Also, have you seen her lately? She's really cute and nice. Why would she want to date someone like me?" His tone was genuine, and several people in the room, especially those who knew of Hinata's feelings for him, stared in disbelief. Wait. What did you think I meant by making her sweat? Naruto's eyes widened further as realization hit. Akira-ne-chan never told me anything about sweating and dating. Hiruzen chuckled again. Naruto-kun, dating can lead to relationships, and you remember what we talked about regarding what people do in relationships that makes them sweat? Naruto blushed brightly, flailing his arms in embarrassment. What the hell? Is that all old people think about? He pointed accusingly at Hayashi. We're talking about your daughter here, you dirty old pervert. Have some shame. Hayashi's eyes twitched in annoyance, but the room burst into laughter, even from some of the more composed clan heads. Naruto's honest outburst had effectively diffused the tension. Once the laughter died down, Hiruzen cleared his throat. Hayashi, are you willing to accept these terms? Nishoku has no say in the matter, given his actions. Hayashi regarded Naruto with a cool gaze. Before I give my answer, tell me one thing, boy. Why do you want to train with my daughter? Naruto's expression softened as he spoke earnestly. Because she's the only Hyuga I've met who's open-minded. She's also really talented. I think we could learn a lot from training together. Hayashi considered his words for a moment, then nodded. Very well. I accept the terms, provided my daughter agrees to train with you. I won't oppose it. Then it's settled, Hiruzen said, nodding in satisfaction. Naruto-kun, once again, I apologize for the inconvenience. You are dismissed. Naruto grinned. No problem, GG. See ya later, elders, Council of Idiots. And with that, he ran out of the chambers. As the door closed behind him, Danzo spoke up, his voice cold and calculating. Are you going to allow him to speak to us like that, Hiruzen? Hiruzen glanced at Danzo, his expression unreadable. We have freedom of speech, Danzo. As long as Naruto shows respect where it matters, I see no issue. But what troubles me is why Naruto seems to harbor such hatred toward you. He doesn't hate the people who've hurt him in the past. So, tell me, what have you done to warrant such animosity? Danzo's face remained impassive. I don't know, he said simply. Hiruzen's eyes narrowed slightly. I'm sure you don't. His tone was laced with sarcasm. Then, he turned to the rest of the council. Now, let us move on to deciding the punishment for one Nishoku Hyuga. Team 7 had gathered at Training Ground 3, though there was an air of frustration hanging over the group as Sakura glanced around, clearly annoyed. Where is that baka? She grumbled, her arms crossed as she tapped her foot impatiently. I'm sure he'll be here soon, Hana Inuzuka said, trying to reassure her. Sasuke, leaning against a tree with his usual indifferent expression, chimed in, the dobe's not usually late, especially not when there's ramen on the line. He observed as Sakura, growing more frustrated, stomped up to a tree and gave it a solid kick. To their surprise, Naruto, who had apparently been sleeping in the branches, tumbled down with a yelp, landing awkwardly on the ground below. Ow! You know, Sakura-chan, he said, rubbing his head as he sat up, you really need to find a better way to wake me up. First, you threw me out of bed back in Nami no Kuni, and now this. Sakura's face flushed, her mind flashing back to the moment in Nami no Kuni and, unfortunately for her, to the dream she had woken from that morning. She quickly turned away to hide her embarrassment. Why does he always have this effect on me? She thought, her heart racing just a little faster than she'd like to admit. What were you doing up in that tree? Anyway? Hana asked, raising an eyebrow. I didn't want to risk being banned from ramen, so I thought I'd stay close and sleep here, Naruto replied, grinning as if it was the most logical thing in the world. Baka! Sakura yelled, her embarrassment turning into frustration as she smacked Naruto on the head, leaving him groaning in pain. Well, now that we're all here, let's get started with the training, Hana said, trying to move things along. Naruto, still holding his head from the hit, shook it and said, I don't think we have time for that today. Hana blinked in confusion. What do you mean, Naruto-san? Before he could respond, an ANBU wearing a mask resembling a weasel, known as Kazuri, appeared next to them in a blur of motion. Team 7, you've been summoned by Hokage-sama, he said curtly before vanishing again, as quickly as he'd arrived. The rest of the team turned their eyes toward Naruto, suspicion written on their faces. Naruto just tilted his head, confused. What? Sasuke narrowed his eyes slightly but didn't say anything, while Sakura sighed, still rubbing her forehead from earlier frustrations. Nothing, Hana finally said. Let's just go. Whatever it is, Hokage-sama must need us all. And with that, Team 7 set off toward the Hokage Tower, curious and slightly apprehensive about what awaited them. Team 7 entered the Hokage's office to find not only Hiruzen Sarutobi but also Asuma Sarutobi and Ino Yamanaka waiting for them. The moment Asuma laid eyes on Naruto, a wide grin spread across his face. Before anyone could react, Asuma lunged toward the blonde, arms outstretched in an attempt to give him a bear hug. Naruto, ever quick on his feet, immediately used Kawarimi no Jutsu and swapped himself with one of the Ninken from Hana's pack, leaving the surprised dog in Asuma's arms instead. What the hell? Naruto yelped, now hiding behind the Hokage's desk. It's bad enough that I have to watch my back around team, but now I've got older men chasing after me too? He pointed accusingly at Asuma. From the side, Sasuke, clearly irritated, shouted, I'm not gay, but his protest was completely ignored by everyone else in the room. Asuma, looking a bit sheepish as he let the confused dog down, rubbed the back of his head. Whoa, calm down, kid. I was just trying to thank you for yesterday. Naruto peeked out from behind Hiruzen, still wary. Then just say thank you. A handshake or a fist bump would have been fine. I don't know you, and you're not a girl, so no hugs. Everyone chuckled at Naruto's straightforwardness, and Asuma raised his hands in mock surrender. Alright, no hugs. Naruto relaxed and walked back over to his team. He then turned his attention to Ino, who had been standing nearby. Hey, Ino. Where are Shikamaru and Choji? Ino gave him a small smile, waving. They had a little accident on our last mission. Shikamaru broke his arm, and Choji twisted his ankle. Nothing too serious though, the doctor said they'll be good as new in a couple of days. Good to hear, Naruto replied, visibly relieved. Hiruzen cleared his throat, drawing everyone's attention back to him. Now, I apologize for interrupting your first day of training with Hana, but I have a mission for you all. This is a B-rank mission, which is why Asuma and Ino will accompany you. A B-rank? Sakura raised an eyebrow. What's the mission, Hokage-sama? Hiruzen handed the mission scroll to Asuma before explaining. The mission is B-rank due to the amount of money and the valuable item you'll be transporting. You will travel to Konoha village to meet with one of our regular clients. He will provide you with a substantial sum of money to purchase an expensive sword in Takumi no Sato. After securing the sword, you are to deliver it back to the client in Konoha village. Asuma opened the scroll, scanning the details, and then frowned slightly. Wait a minute, Pops, he said. Addressing his father informally, the mission details say we need someone with the skills to check the quality of the sword. That means we'll need an artisan or at least a smith. Who's coming with us to do that? Hiruzen smiled knowingly. You already have someone who can handle that. Naruto's eyes widened in realization, and he exchanged glances with Hana and Sasuke. Wait. Naruto started, piecing things together. Are you saying I'm the one who's supposed to check the sword? Exactly, Hiruzen confirmed. Naruto, your knowledge of weapons and craftsmanship, especially after your recent acquisition, qualifies you for this mission. No additional personnel will be required. Naruto stood straighter, looking proud but also a little surprised. Got it, GG. Good, Hiruzen said, nodding. You will depart in 1 hour. Be sure to pack for at least a week's journey, as travel to Takumi no Sato and back will take some time. Dismissed. The team began to turn to leave, but Hiruzen stopped them one last time. Naruto-kun, he added, before you go, could you meet me in front of Training Ground 44 in half an hour? Naruto, curious but trusting his mentor, nodded. Sure, GG. I'll be there. With that, Team 7, along with Asuma and Ino, left the Hokage's office to prepare for their mission. As they walked through the halls, Naruto's mind was buzzing with thoughts about the sword they'd be retrieving, but he also couldn't shake his curiosity about why the Hokage wanted to meet him at Training Ground 44. It wasn't a normal place for casual meetings, it was the infamous Forest of Death. I guess I'll find out soon, Naruto muttered to himself as he headed off to pack for the mission and prepare for his meeting with the Hokage. Naruto landed at the entrance of Training Ground 44, the infamous Forest of Death. He gazed up at the towering fence surrounding it, a smirk tugging at his lips. Whoa, that's a big-ass fence for a few harmless trees, he muttered. But before he could say anything else, his instincts flared. Without thinking, he jumped back, narrowly dodging a kunai that flew past where he had been standing. That would have hit me if it wasn't for Kenbun Shoku no Haki, Naruto thought, his golden katana drawn in an instant, its edge gleaming with a fiery aura. Who are you? He demanded, his tone sharp, eyes narrowing as a kunoichi landed in front of him. I should be asking you that, midget, the woman replied, her eyes flashing with amusement. Naruto's eyes darkened at her words, his grip tightening around the hilt of his sword. Golden fire flared from the blade, his body tense as if preparing to strike. The sudden surge of energy caused the woman to take a small step back, her amusement faltering as she realized this kid was no joke. Before the situation could escalate, a familiar voice cut through the tension. Ah, Naruto-kun, could you not kill one of my kunoichi? Anko is one of our best TNI specialists. As a person though, she's not always the most tactful, said the third Hokage, stepping into view. Anko flinched at the backhanded compliment, about to protest, but Hiruzen gave her a stern look that shut her up immediately. If you say so, GG, Naruto grumbled, extinguishing the golden flames on his sword and sheathing it. He turned to the Hokage, still a bit peeved but calming down. Why did you ask me to come here, anyway? I've got a mission to get ready for. Indeed, you do, Hiruzen said, his voice turning serious. But before you leave, I wanted to discuss something with you. As you know, I am a level 7 Fuinjutsu master. My wayward student, Orochimaru, is a level 8, and my other student, Jiraiya, is a low level 9. Naruto's impatience got the better of him. I don't have all day, GG. I've got a mission soon, he interrupted, crossing his arms. Yes, of course, the Hokage continued with a small chuckle. If I remember correctly, you're about halfway through mastering level 10 Fuinjutsu, right? Naruto nodded, not missing the look of shock on Anko's face. What's this all about, GG? Hiruzen gestured toward Anko. Orochimaru placed the Ten no Juin, the cursed seal of heaven, on Anko here. All I've been able to do is suppress it, and Jiraiya hasn't had much more success in removing it. I wanted to see if you might be able to destroy it. Anko's eyes widened at the mention of her cursed seal. She instinctively touched the mark on her neck, her usual bravado replaced with uncertainty. Okay, Naruto said without hesitation, stepping toward her. Show me the seal. Anko glanced at Hiruzen, who nodded in confirmation. Reluctantly, she turned her head, pulling her collar down to expose the cursed mark. Naruto moved closer and placed his hand over the seal, his chakra probing it carefully. After a moment, he withdrew his hand, and an afterimage of the seal, formed of pure chakra, hovered over his palm. He stepped back, spinning his hand clockwise. The afterimage grew larger, revealing intricate kanji hidden beneath the surface of the tomo that marked the cursed seal. "What is that?" Anko asked, her eyes fixed on the swirling symbols. "An Uzumaki viewing technique. I saw it once when Mito-sama was using it," Hiruzen explained, stepping forward to stand beside Anko. Naruto examined the seal closely, his eyes narrowing in thought. After several minutes, he finally spoke. "I see why you couldn't destroy it. It's a sloppy, low-level Tenjunjutsu." He quickly pulled out a scroll and, with blinding speed, wrote out a seal matrix. He then placed his hand back on the cursed mark, spinning the seal back into its original form with the tomo, before sealing it into the scroll. "So, can you destroy it?" Hiruzen asked. Naruto nodded but looked thoughtful. "I can destroy the soul fragment embedded in the seal, and I can get rid of the enzyme that's corrupting her chakra. But the real problem is the corrupted chakra itself. If I release it all at once, it could kill her. The chakra is too volatile to just let out. I could purify it, but that would cause an explosion. I could also add it to her chakra reserve slowly, but that would be extremely painful, enough to kill her." Anko's eyes flickered with uncertainty. "So, what are my options?" Naruto blushed suddenly, looking away awkwardly. "Well, if we go with the slow release, I'd have to apply a special seal, directly to your skin." All over your body," he stammered. Anko's signature smirk returned as she saw how flustered Naruto became. "Oh, I see. Little Naruchan wants to see my sexy body, huh?" she teased, snickering when his blush deepened. Naruto's embarrassment quickly gave way to exasperation. "Look, do you want me to help or not?" Anko's teasing expression faltered as she touched the cursed seal again, her fingers trembling slightly. "Are you sure you can really get rid of it?" she asked quietly. "Jiraiya-sama tried before, and it didn't go well." Naruto's eyes narrowed. "Who is this Jiraiya guy, anyway? First, I hear he's writing those stupid books that Hataki's obsessed with, then I hear from Nikone that he's peeping on women in hot springs, and now he's messing up Fuinjutsu? The more I hear about him, the more I want to kick his ass." Hiruzen chuckled, finding the situation amusing. "You two are more alike than you think, Naruto-kun." Naruto looked scandalized. "Me? Alike to that pervert? How?" "Well," the Hokage began, a small smile on his face, "Jiraiya was a bit of a dead last in his academy days too. Where he's perverted, though, you're reckless and dense. TCH. I may be reckless, but I wouldn't mess up something as important as this," Naruto muttered, waving his hand dismissively. "And what do you mean dense?" Hiruzen only chuckled, refusing to answer the question directly. "Nothing, Naruto-kun. Nothing at all." Naruto sighed in exasperation and turned to Anko. "Look, I'll leave a blood clone to get started on preparing the seal, but it's going to take some time. You'll have to feed him, though. Blood clones are lazy when it comes to anything that's not related to their main task." "Blood clone?" Anko asked, raising an eyebrow. "He means Chi Bunshin no Jutsu," Hiruzen clarified. "It's a much stronger version of a shadow clone." "Naruto, you've already learned it?" "Yeah, but it's still not battle-ready. Takes too long to form." "Battle-ready?" Anko asked, confused. "It means he can perform it without hand signs and quickly enough to use in combat," Hiruzen explained. Naruto nodded. "Yeah, I want to be ready for when Sasuke unlocks his Sharingan. That way, he can't just copy my jutsu." Hiruzen smiled at Naruto's thoughtfulness. "Can Nico assist your clone?" "She's more than capable." "Yeah, I trust Nikone-chan," Naruto agreed. Anyway, I've gotta go or I'll be late for my mission. See ya, Gigi. Later, crazy lady. With that, he bolted off. Anko blinked in surprise. Crazy lady? Hiruzen chuckled. Don't call him a midget again, Anko-chan. He's sensitive about his height. Right now, he's as tall as Sasuke, but for a long time, he was below average, and it's a sore spot for him. Anko scoffed. I'm not afraid of some brat. Underestimate him at your own peril. Naruto-kun is going to be the strongest shinobi in this village sooner than most people realize, Hiruzen said, his tone a little more serious. Just ask Kakashi. What happened to Cyclops? Anko asked, curious. Hiruzen smirked. Right now, he's on a mission escorting Madame Shirjimi to a spa, and I banned him from reading his Ika books for the entire mission. So, he's probably watching her get some sort of spa treatment right about now. Anko burst into laughter, tears forming in her eyes as she imagined the horror on Kakashi's face. Oh, that's rich. Main gate, 20 minutes later Team 7, along with Asuma and Ino, gathered at the gate, ready to depart on their mission. Alright, Naruto, Asuma asked, where's all your gear? Sealed, Naruto said simply, gesturing to the scrolls hanging from his belt. Of course it is, Asuma sighed, shaking his head with a grin. Well, everyone's ready. Let's get going. I want to reach Konoha village before noon. With that, the group set out, leaving Konoha behind as they embarked on their next mission. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button and subscribe for more content. Support the original author by clicking their profile link in the pinned comment of the first video of this series. They deserve the love. Want early access and exclusive content? Join my Patreon community, link below. Your support fuels these videos. Drop a comment with your thoughts, and I'll catch you in the next video. Stay entertained, stay safe.